10.
Hello and welcome to Imp's LOP Radio Adventure, or if you're listening live on YouTube, this is LOP Live. Yes, going out on podcast and on video at the exact same time. This time I've actually gone out at the time intended, and as Jeremy can attest, I have been just non-stop doing stuff for the last 10-15 minutes, trying to get this to work, and it's all gone to plan.
Imp, you are the hardest working man in wrestling podcasting today.
By today means literally today. Tomorrow I'm doing nothing. But yeah, so today I've got on a very special guest. I've already introduced him by accident, but let's do a proper one. Make it nice and formal. Joining us all the way from the Keeping It Strong Style podcast on the Social Suplex Network, the specialist I normally bring in whenever I bang on about New Japan. I say whenever, it's been, twice? So, building reputation. But yes, my guest, Jeremy Donovan. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on again, Imp.
Yeah, I forgot all about the Kiss Boys theme tune that I had last time, but I think I'll keep that in the shed. I'll keep that ready for when it's time to have Young Boy on as well as a mega special. Before I do get into things here on LOP Radio, as announced by Jan Man and Jeff on their Dynamite After Dark show at the end of that, if you want to go listen to that one, I put it up on YouTube earlier today as well. But the plan is for our coverage of Wrestle Kingdom here on Laws of Pain Radio is to do immediate live shows after both events. So not after just one, but on consecutive both nights. We're going to do live shows afterwards. For me, that's in the middle of the day. That's perfectly fine. I'll have my lunch, a lovely glass of orange juice and a cup of tea. It'll be lovely. For the Americans, not so much. I don't know how they're going to do it. They're not two young guys either. They're in their 40s and 50s, I think. So it's going to be quite the test to see how they do. I'm very interested to see how those guys do at like 5 a.m. in the morning or 7, whatever it is. I don't know. Wrestle Kingdom might be slightly... I've not actually thought about that in terms of... Because there's two of them, will the show be a little bit shorter, given that they're mega long normally, but with it split like this, will we get two slightly shorter ones, or, Wrestle Kingdom? No, we're going mental. What we do every year.
It'll be interesting to see what the cards end up being full length and what the times end up being. But yeah, those guys, they definitely need some coffee if they're getting up early to do reviewing those shows.
Yeah. A little forewarning, I do have a little bit of a cough. Also, if you saw me on Twitter earlier today, the joke, I was not kidding when I said I'd be streaming live from Atlantis. The city centre's been flooded here in Nottingham, and I live near a nature reserve, or relatively near a nature reserve, and that normally floods up and the roads get pretty bad. But the really bad one happened when I was young, so we built defences. So it doesn't happen again. It's amazing that when you invest in structural issues, it's like, yeah, now we're perfectly fine. It's fantastic. It's great. We've got no issues aside from massive puddles everywhere. But yes, I'm lucky. The other place in Nottingham was really bad. But it is Waterworld here. Is it? Who's in what? Was it? I've forgotten who was in Waterworld. Is it Kevin Costner?
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, but before we move on, I got to know this. IMDb. I'm halting the show to find out who was the lead actor in Waterworld, and I reckon everyone all the white people born in the 80s were able to tell me this. I can't remember who it is. Waterworld. Kevin Costner. I'm bloody right. Yes. I can take my white person card back now. I remembered it. That's not a thing. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about Wrestle Kingdom, specifically kind of reception over here in the West to how the card's shaping up, with a little bit of information that I totally knew and Jeremy didn't suddenly inform me of before the show. And I was like, what? So there's that. Also, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Showdown shows that happened this past week. LA has not been... There's no sign of that being uploaded anytime soon, so I'm just going to ignore that one. But I did watch San Jose, knackered, after Full Gear. Really, really enjoyed it. Maybe it was just because I was so tired. I was just like, oh, this is lovely. It's a nice slow pace, but I'll see what Jeremy thought of all the other matches as well. And that'll be our show. I will say, it sounds like a short card, but if you've ever listened to any of Jeremy's shows or any of my shows, it's probably not going to go that way. We ramble. We end up on random topics.
Hey, that's how we podcast, man. We love to talk.
Jeremy's show was 3 hours this week on the Social Suplex Network, so if you're somebody who needs a long podcast for a drive, he is your man. Or if you don't like listening to Lord of the Rings whilst you're watching it, he is your man. You could put on the director's commentary and subtitle it because you're listening to Jeremy and Youngboy. With Star Wars coming up, there's all the different methods to watch it. I think we just found the Kiss Boy run for Star Wars. Yes,
Kiss Wars.
Yeah, Kiss Wars. Yes, it does sound like a porn parody. That was my favourite thing from this week. Was I say favourite thing? Was everything that's happened. Yeah, this was my favourite thing. That Disney were cracking down on all of the porn parodies of the Disney assets they've now got. So that meant there was a publicly made list of all the fantastic puns. Which have been made. Just like, yes. As this is going out on YouTube, I can't say any of them, but they are really funny. There's a whole new thing on YouTube now to do with like child protection and stuff. So with every single video, I've got to say, "Is this meant for kids?" It's like, well, I've talked about porn in the first 5 minutes. Probably not.
So no.
Yeah, no, that's a solid no. But yeah, so New Japan Pro Wrestling. Yes, I told you we go off topic. It happens quite a lot. So, Wrestle Kingdom taking part on January 4th and 5th for the first time a double show. Oh, I came up with a special name for it. Was it? Oh, Double Trouble show in the Tokyo Dome. He's not going to say Double Trouble in Tokyo Dome, but he bloody should. So I think last time I had Jeremy on, I was trying to make that point that I can't. When someone says Tokyo Dome normally, I'm like, oh, I don't like it because the only way I hear Tokyo Dome said is like New Japan Pro Wrestling narrator style. It's like Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I mean that's the only way it should be said, man.
Yeah. And now if you don't say it like that, I'm keeping it strong style. You're letting me down.
All right, next week I'm gonna do it.
and make sure Youngboy says it correctly every single time. It won't get on his nerves. It'll be fine. But yeah, so Wrestle Kingdom, it was announced later. I'll let Jeremy talk about the thing that I definitely knew about, but I'll let him talk about it because he knows more about it. But it has been decided that it will be a double semi-final match. Double semi-final? It's self-explanatory. The semi-final matches will take place on the first night as the... I was going to say main events, but it's Jushin Thunder Liger main eventing that first night. I didn't even think about that.
I don't think so. I think Kazuchika Okada versus Kota Ibushi will be main eventing for the IWGP title.
Yeah. It's one of those where I was like, surely it'll be Kota Okada, but I didn't even think. It's like, oh yeah, sorry, there's that star-studded... I say it's star-studded to people who watched before this generation, because like to a lot of the modern Western fans, it's going to feel a lot like of old guys you don't know. Whilst I'm there like, oh, I know him, or somebody's like, oh, I didn't recognise your name, but I know your face.
and that match will be fun, and I'm happy Liger's getting some time at the Dome, but as far as match quality, that match would not be the best way to end off. Night 1 Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm thinking a bit far in the past when they did those kind of special tag matches, they would main event, but that was a different era. That was Youngboy's favourite era.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not mine, I'll be perfectly honest, but it is a past era. But now the focus is on the current stars of Okada versus Ibushi on the first night, which is the G1 Climax match, which I really, really liked when that was announced because the briefcase is for January 4th, so they haven't changed that. I kind of like that. It's a weird little keeping to traditions type of thing, even if it's a 4th and 5th. And the other match is for the IC title with Jay White defending against Tetsuya Naito. The winners of both of those matches will advance to the 5th in the ultra main event, the ultimate main event of Wrestle Kingdom for both the Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship. And there were some interesting statements made by the 4 competitors involved. Okada was the one that stood out to me in terms of the future of New Japan, how his intentions and what could kind of happen with the belts afterwards. I don't know what the others are going to do. Jay White comes across as a guy who'd like to be draped in as much gold as possible, even if he's not defending it. He doesn't care. He wants to be draped in IT and heavyweight.
I feel like Jay White wants to picture himself like Ultimo Dragon and just have like 13 belts just strapped all over him.
Ultimo Dragon, Austin Aries in TNA. Oh, all of those. Wait, sorry, no, Impact Wrestling. Where he was draped in all of the indie belts.
Yeah, when he was doing his belt collector gimmick.
Yes, good gimmick. Shame the way it ended. But in deciding this, Jeremy's got some information on a certain poll that took place that I completely forgot about. So quickly informed about the poll because it's not that long a story.
Yeah, so they put out a poll after Power Struggle to the Japanese audience, and they had an app called Line that you would download and cast your vote in. And I don't have the exact numbers on me right now, but the majority of the Japanese fans voted that they were interested in seeing the double title match at the Dome. There were a few fans that kind of, voted no and were concerned because they wanted to see they didn't want to see the IC belt get unified into the IWGP title. They thought the IC title has a lot of history and it's a belt worth keeping. But the majority of the audience, they were excited about the double title match and they want to see it, and that's what we're going to get.
If you're watching on YouTube, yes, I did forget to switch the image, but now I've done it. Don't know why Jeremy talking about the poll reminded me. Yeah, so I could actually search the actual percentages. NJPW Wrestle Kingdom 14 poll. Double gold dash, does it say? Oh, it just says it's open on this one. I'll have to search somewhere. Oh, I can't be arsed. It's all over. But yeah, I'm assuming the results are on something somewhere, unless New Japan just announced the winner. I completely missed that this was happening, if you hadn't guessed by the way I've introduced this. It's nice that they actually... Because I saw that there were talks of them doing the poll, and then I kind of tuned out, went to AEW, and then watched Showdown with no knowledge. This is actually being guaranteed. It's kind of interesting, given the reception in Osaka, where it was not exactly met that well at Power Struggle. I think I asked a question for keeping it strong, so I can't even remember now. Sometimes I'll type a question and go, oh no, it's crap, and then just delete it. So I can't remember. I think I asked it, but it was the point of, do you think that there was quite a big contingency of fans that don't really want this, or was it just Osaka? Because Osaka aren't really, Tokyo cheer for everything. They are very vocal with what their opinions are.
Yeah, honestly, I think part of it was the Osaka crowd that night at Power Struggle, and part of it, I think, was just how the angle was kind of set up. I mean, you had the four guys just kind of came out there, just kind of standing around, and you had Okada, who's kind of like, why are we even doing this? Like, I'm the IWGP champion. I have no interest in winning the IC title. Like, why would I want that belt? And so you have the top guy in the company, the champion, that's not even interested. Then you have Naito, who's, not been having a great year, barely has a winning record, has been losing a lot of big matches. I mean, he's still over, but it's kind of like, all right, now he's in the situation. And then you have Jay White, who all the fans hate, and then Kota Ibushi, who's just kind of like standing there with his briefcase smiling. It's like, what's going on here, guys? There wasn't a lot of like really hype. And then Jay White just told them all to leave, and they left, and he got his confetti and then faded black. So it was just kind of, it was one of those moments where it would have been great to have a script and kind of give those guys some guidelines of what you wanted to get over instead of kind of having that like awkward ending. If they were all a little bit more like hype into it, if there was some kind of brawl at the end, I think the Osaka crowd might have gotten a better reaction. And
as we're regularly watching AEW, like brawls, they are in right now. They're in style. Every single week there's a brawl on AEW, like guaranteed. It happens every single time. But yeah, I do kind of agree that it was a little bit... It wasn't... Because I saw somebody go, oh, that was Naito, was it 2013 that he walked out? Naito 2013 bad. And I was like, no. It was nowhere near that bad.
So I found the numbers from the poll. So there was 15,952 that said yes, and 9,055 that said no.
Okay, so it's not quite Brexit vote, but it is a relatively close. That's probably. I don't know why I thought it'd be closer. I don't know why about that. Maybe it's just because like in the world that America and England are living in, every vote is close now. But it felt, that's more decisive than I thought it'd be, which is kind of a good sign going into the Tokyo Dome. Because there might have been a bit of a worry after when they did it, when they announced the vote, and the crowd at Osaka were like, but to actually see those numbers be quite like that, that's a lot more. That reassures quite a lot.
Yeah, they have been pushing this idea for majority of the year. You had Naito kind of be the guy that started off wanting to be a double champion, and throughout the year, you've had other people kind of jumping on the bandwagon. Jay White, even Tanahashi, Saber. You've had several guys mention that they want to be double IWGP and Intercontinental title. So they've kind of been planting the seeds and mentioning it over and over again. So not completely surprised that a lot of fans were kind of interested since it's been mentioned so often. Just that angle at a Power Struggle just wasn't the best way to really get it over.
Yeah, I was adjusting my levels a little bit because I'm a tad quiet. But yeah, it's a good measurement. When you do these kind of measuring sticks, you are taking a little bit of a gamble just in case it's a blatant telling of what have you done? Has it worked? There's a reason WWE don't do Cyber Sunday anymore, or anything like that. Yes, I know they were. It came across as most of those were fixed. I wouldn't be surprised if they were mostly fixed, but it's still taking a little bit of a risk. Like you get something completely random, or the person you think is over isn't over, or where you wanted to go with it actually is not where they want to go. But as we saw, because I love how they've kind of taken the last vote and used this in here as well. It's basically just Okada taking the piss. I was like, hey, we had one, didn't we, Naito? we did the vote ourselves. I was like, yeah. But it's gone in their favour this time, and what I've seen, what I kind of wanted to take this as well, but given the title, which I can easily say, the Wrestle Kingdom Western Woes. I still struggle. But the woes that we've seen over here from Western fans in terms of it. So we've just talked about the Japanese fans and kind of the overall feelings there. But with the West, the people who didn't get to vote on it, it's weird. Like the people I know who have watched New Japan long term, like don't really mind that much. A lot of the new fans aren't exactly high on it. And when I say new, I'm talking 2 or 3 or less. So not super new, but I mean not old enough to have been I'm trying to think. Not old enough to have still been watching when it was still Tanahashi's era. That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, cause, if I'm right, you started watching like towards the end of his era. As in like before Okada started winning at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah.
Yes. Alright. I'm trying to get my maths quite right. Yeah, so a few of the, because of course I'm on Twitter all the time, and those are the kind of views I see quite often, is that the longer someone has been watching, the more faith you've got in Gedo.
Right, like, yeah. In Gedo we trust.
Yes. Yeah, so the long-term fans are like, in Gedo we trust. Well, short-term ones are more like, I've seen him make some issues. Shut up, he doesn't make issues. He's fine. He knows what he's doing. I think it's more that we've kind of built a trust in Gedo, and whenever there are signs that he might be breaking that trust, someone like a newer fan is a lot quicker to notice it, whilst someone like me just be like, no, it's fine. Like, I believe in Gedo. It's a religion. He is. Don't insult my religion. Yeah, I don't know if it's like blind faith in Gedo from my part, just because I've seen it play out so many times. Like the big one was a big one where it's before a lot of the nowadays fans were watching, when AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, Shinsuke Nakamura, Luke Gallows, when they all left, there was a lot of talk on Twitter about how on earth are New Japan going to cope here. Like, surely the rest of the year is going to feel like nowhere near as momentous, and Wrestle Kingdom, when we get to that, will be much, much lower. Come Wrestle Kingdom, no, like, Okada felt like an absolute megastar going into his match. And I think they did... Oh, God, what did they bloody do after that? What was that? Kenny Omega as well. I'm having a complete brain fart.
Yeah, so once you had, like, AJ and Nakamura leaving, you had the the rise of Kenny Omega and the Bullet Club really breaking into pop culture and going into Hot Topic and getting Funko Pops and so kind of riding that wave of momentum. You had kind of the beginning of the Western expansion. We had those Long Beach shows. So with those guys leaving, I mean, Gato does a great job, and New Japan overall together does a great job of just kind of elevating guys once guys leave and just creating stars. And that's how they've been able to survive. Once a star leaves, they get the next guy ready and create him as a star, and they just keep pushing stars. So like you said, man, with Gato in charge, I mean, you might want to call it, some people might call it blind faith, but he really hasn't made many mistakes since he's taken over the book, and the booking and the long-term story planning and the matches have just all been phenomenal. And so, if we do get like another mass exodus this year, I have, full confidence that he has guys lined up that he's going to elevate, and I have full confidence in him that this whole dash for the double gold is going to work out.
Gato, just leave us with Shooter for as long as you want. Like, it's fine. He can be on a multi-year excursion. Yeah, fine with that. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, he's got Tanahashi's swagger already. Love him. Yes.
And he was doing the John Moxley pose in his entrance. That was pretty cool. Yeah.
And it comes up with Shooter and it's a gun. I was like, oh, it's yes. Yeah. So yeah, we got Shooter. It's fine. I was going to go off on another tangent there, but no, talk about Kawato when he comes back. It's fine. But yes, it is so I've seen quite a few of the West Fairs, not quite, because the first test, I think, with a lot of the more when people came in with Kenny Omega, the first Gato test was Naito losing the year after the G1, and they kind of went into that. And assuming you were the same as me, it's like, no, trust me, he's going to win it eventually. They'll build back to it. It'll be fine. He's going to get his moment. And then he lost the G1 next year, and it's like, it's still fine. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, I mean, on our show, we've been trying to keep the LIJ fans from jumping off the ledge, because for years on our show, we're like, guys, it's okay. You can breathe. Naito will get his moment. And he lost at Wrestle Kingdom. It's like, guys, I know it was a big loss. It's gonna be fine. And now we're just getting to that breaking point. It's like, if Naito does not win both titles here, it's gonna be some serious heartbreak. I don't think we can, hold him off the ledge any longer. They've been building this for so long now, and a lot of the feedback that I've been seeing from people, they're fine with the double title match, but they're questionable of why Naito is in the situation based on the year he's had. And a friend of the show, Chris Samsa, who's been doing New Japan stats for Kevin Kelly and Voices of Wrestling, he released like his big doc on sportsofprowrestling.com last week, and looking at the win-loss records, I think Naito's like singles record was like something like 9-7 or something like that. When you have other guys who have way better records and have had better years, it's like, okay, why is Naito here? He hasn't won a lot of big matches. He lost to Taichi and guys like that in the G1. He lost the IC title twice this year. He lost it to Ibushi, lost it to Jay White. So they've really taken Naito down to the very, very bottom. And he just kind of feels out of place. It's kind of the feedback that I've been hearing from people. But, I mean, that's the overall story they're trying to tell here. I think they want to break Naito down as low as they can get, because he is going to walk out January 5th with both titles and have this big redemption story and finally be able to beat Okada in the Dome.
Yeah, he has been feuding with Ibushi and Jay White over the course of the year. But Naito feels like, out of everybody that is in this, he's in there more because he's Naito. If that makes sense. Like, it's off his name and his popularity more than the other three who have earned their place in this four. Naito, I guess he lost to Jay White. Does he get a rematch? Has he had his rematch? Am I being stupid? Can't remember.
Well, New Japan really doesn't do like the quote unquote like rematch clause. Usually, like title rematches usually end up happening like a couple months later, when the former champion will kind of come out and challenge the current champion, like we saw at Power Struggle. Naito came out at the end to challenge Jay White. So so technically he hasn't had like a rematch yet.
So I'm trying to think. Surely there's a Gedo way into this that makes sense more than I'm Naito, bitch. I'm in.
Right. Yeah, and I'm looking at the records now. So you have Will Ospreay. He's had 22 wins, 11 losses. Okada, 18 wins, 3 losses. Jay White, 13 wins, 5 losses. Tanahashi, 10 wins, 10 losses. Shingo, 16 wins, 17 losses. Ishii, 10 wins, 9 losses. Saber, 11 wins, 9 losses. You have a lot of guys who have more single wins than Tetsuya Naito, who only has 9 wins and 7 losses. So there are guys in that heavyweight division who have better winning percentages, who have had better years than him overall. It's like, why isn't a guy like Ishii or Shingo or even Tanahashi, why weren't they considered for this double title match?
Well, Ishii's not in because this isn't Rich Latter's Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, if Rich had the book, it would be Ishii walking out on January 5th with both belts.
We're getting Ishii versus Ibushi probably the main event. Like Ishii's already champion. But yeah, Naito, he does feel like he's in there because like naturally his arc feels like mostly because like in terms of the keeping the LIJ fans off the ledge, as we were saying earlier, Naito's arc to me screams that he wins this. Absolutely screams it. But you look at him physically, it's kind of weird. Like him as a human, his knees are crap. He's not in fantastic physical shape. I don't know how a lengthy title run could even work out, especially given like the length of this arc, the amount of time taken to build, and as a character for him to finally get to that point where he's popular enough and kind of together enough to be that champion. Physically, I'm not sure if he could like put on those amazing matches, especially following Okada, who still is in incredible shape and is only in his early 30s. He's got like another decade in him.
Yeah.
Which is insane. Naito, I don't know if it might turn into a blip, which might be worse. Oh, no. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that will help Naito is the schedule as a champion. Because with the champion, not every title defense happens every month. Sometimes it's like every other month, or there's like a 2-month gap in between title defenses. And then he'll probably be, hidden away in a lot of multi-man matches throughout tours. So I think with the way the schedule is set up, they will kind of hide him away until he needs to kind of come out and have big title defenses. But I could see him having like a 6-month or so reign. Like I could see him, probably dropping the title at Dominion.
Yeah, that could make sense. I think a 6-month nice reign, because it's that was the point when he lost against Okada. The reason he lost was because he tried to show everybody the main event of Wrestle Kingdom that the Stardust Genius wasn't a failure, and that was when the momentum of the match. That's when it completely swung. That's what lost him the match, was going for the Phoenix Splash. I want to say it was. It's been a while now. The thing I remember mostly from that was both the entrances. Jesus Christ, they felt like megastars, but. Yeah.
Well, I think too, he went for like he had hit a Destino, and then he decided to like taunt and go for another Destino, and that's when Okada countered that Destino and hit the Rainmaker. If I remember correctly.
Ah, right. Yes, I know he missed the Phoenix Splash as well, which didn't help. He in that moment Naito lost the match more than Okada won it, which was kind of the narrative kind of. And then Naito had that really difficult year with Chris Jericho and kind of getting over the IC title and everything like that as well. So he's gotten over his struggles the past 2 years. And whenever a character does that, when they get over their struggles, that means it's time for the reward. Like he's climbed the mountain, now it's time to kill the dragon. I don't know what movie this is. But Naito has climbed that mountain. He's gotten over all of his struggles and issues, and now LIJ. Because for me, the biggest thing that screams why Naito's in here is because LIJ's popularity in Japan is absolutely incredible. It is. Would you say they're the most popular faction in wrestling in Japan?
Oh yeah, hands down. Especially with Kenny and the Bucks and all those guys gone from Bullet Club. Well, even with those guys, Lij has always been the top faction, the top merch movers. It's one of those factions where pretty much every single guy is over to a top level except Bushi. Like Naito's over, Evil, Sonata, Shingo, Hiromu. All those guys are like beloved by the fans, and you look at the crowd, you see Lij towels, you see the Naito teddy bears, people wearing Bushi masks. They're definitely the most popular faction.
Oh, speaking of merch like that, somebody made the point of, I feel like at Wrestle Kingdom the match should be officially changed to Hiromu and Daryl versus Will Ospreay and Percy. They won't do that. Won't make it official, but for all the New Japan stands, yes, that's the most important rivalry.
Yeah.
But yeah, Naito for me, the Lij are so incredibly popular, and his character arc as well kind of feeds into that. It's just like he is ready, like as a character, he's ready. Like ignoring the physical state of him. Like, as a character, this is it. This is the moment they've been building up to. It just feels like it's weird. Like, his character arc doesn't fit with the rest of what's happened, which is why it could probably feel a little bit jarring. Like, his character arc, which has been going on for years, goes to this moment where he wins. But the rest of the world that's happened around him, it's kind of like he's forced his way in to continue the story rather than, like, it naturally makes sense and he's climbing the mountain again as G1 Climax winner kind of thing. It's a very different where he's starting off as the person with the least momentum going in, which could either backfire or work completely fine because again it's part of climbing that mountain, getting over that struggle. He's the least favorite.
And to kind of paint a picture for like WWE fans who might be new to New Japan, it would be kind of like if like The Rock had a bad year and they were going to do some big double title match at WrestleMania, and he wanted in. Well, of course he's going to be in because he's The Rock, and he's like the most popular guy on the roster. That's kind of what it's like with Naito right now. Like, yes, he's had a bad year, but at the end of the day, it's Tetsuya Naito, and he still a draw, still one of the most popular guys in the company.
Yeah, I think if you do WrestleMania 2000, but The Rock doesn't win the Rumble, but he still gets in the match anyway. Like, Big Show actually wins. That's there. I'm not comparing Ibushi to Big Show, but it's a four-way, so it works. But, yeah, Big Show actually wins, but The Rock gets in anyway. They can do, like, the convoluted thing they always do. But it wouldn't feel like The Rock had earned that spot, like, to the same degree, which is kind of how I feel about Naito here. Like, it doesn't quite feel like, even though his arc, he should be here. Like, for the years long arc, like 6 years long by this point. Like, 100% he should be here. But in terms of what's actually happened in 2019, doesn't quite gel and fit 100%. But again, I'm willing to overlook it because, again, in the grander picture, it does work. And in the and when we watch it on the night of Wrestle Kingdom, or the Wrestle Kingdom's nights, I know I can just mentally just turn off all my woes. Because, again, in Gedo we trust. It's happened year after year.
Right, and come January 5th at the end of that show, nobody's going to be talking about the booking. Everybody's just going to be celebrating and happy that Naito finally won the big one. We're going to have a new champion. It's going to lead to new title matches next year. So a lot of people are just going to be rejoicing, and they're not going to even harp on the fact that it didn't make sense for him to be there. And, the whole Naito arc, that kind of leads into a tweet I saw today from our friend Chad Matthews, the doc, over on Chair Shot Radio. And he tweeted, sell me on this Wrestle Kingdom main event. Right now, I feel like adding a second match cheapens Ibushi versus Okada, which would have been perfectly, partly because it was going on last at Wrestle Kingdom. Feels like adding Charlotte to make the WrestleMania 35 headliner a triple threat. Naito's arc is the thing that kind of trumps the Ibushi Okada match. It's like the whole story here is Naito. That's the thing here. The story is not Ibushi Okada. And, these guys already wrestled this year in the G1, and typically dome main events don't happen in the year previous. So there's not really, the story's not really between Okada and Ibushi. Like, that's a small little kind of sub story, but that's just kind of a roadblock. The main story of Wrestle Kingdom this year is Naito's redemption. So I don't think having the double title match situation cheapens Okada Ibushi, because that's not the main thing right now. Eventually down the line, I'm sure there'll be a story for that going into next year. But the story here is getting to Okada and Naito finally being able to beat Okada in the main event of the Dome for the IWGP title.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Yeah, short-term stories, like you've got Ibushi kind of building momentum, but I feel like his main event story is only just starting, and the second part of that, first part was losing to Hiroshi Tanahashi last year. Second part was actually winning the G1 this year. The third part might be at some point winning the title, but it's not now. Like, he is not winning it here.
Yeah, and I think Ibushi is going to be the next kind of redemption story for next year. So I think Ibushi, I think he's going to lose to Okada on the 4th. I think he's going to lose to Jay White on the 5th. And then we're going to go into 2020 with Ibushi kind of being, broken down to his bottom. And then we're going to have a redemption story with Ibushi. I can see him, getting eliminated early in the New Japan Cup and having to kind of struggle throughout the year until finally maybe G1 time. Maybe he wins the G1 again. Or maybe he comes, in the final spot of G1 and just barely loses. And then he has to kind of earn his way into the Dome main event somehow next year, or win a big non-title match at the Dome. Maybe he faces like a Chris Jericho or something at Wrestle Kingdom 15 to eventually kind of get himself back into momentum for the following year to get back in the title picture.
Well, out of the top guys, whilst Jericho is a heel, Ibushi's the only one left. After he's done Hiroshi Tanahashi, that means he's done everybody, like Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Kota Ibushi's the last one out of that kind of lot. He could easily end on Hiroshi Tanahashi. Like, honestly, if that feels like a veteran versus veteran, that would be a really great way for Jericho to kind of go out at just a massive match between two top guys of their generation. But Ibushi is that last one of the crop, where if he is having that comeback year, it could kind of make sense. And it also, something that Gator does like to do as well, is that little pattern of mirroring somebody. Like, we saw it in AEW, to be fair, with Kenny Omega going to Moxley's world after Moxley went to Kenny Omega's.
Right.
That mirroring kind of booking of opposition. I wouldn't be surprised if, Kota Ibushi does go through Jericho in that kind of mirroring Naito's struggle. Ibushi kind of does a similar thing. And of course, Naito can tease him about that in a way, because Naito overcame his. I don't know what could happen with Ibushi there. But, this isn't his year. And I saw a few comments about people, I can't remember exact Twitter handles, I do apologise, but it was the fear that Kota Ibushi might get forgotten in all of this. But that's why long-term booking's great.
Right.
That's why we trust in Gato.
And if you study the patterns that Gato has done since he's taken over, there's always a guy that he wants to push, that he kind of breaks him down and does a redemption story. It happened with Okada. He had to struggle and fight to finally be able to beat Tanahashi in the Dome. They did the same heartbreak with him, where everybody thought he was going to beat Tanahashi in the Dome, and then Tanahashi beat him. And he had to keep coming back, and finally, until he got to the point where he was able to beat Tanahashi in the Dome. Same thing with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had to struggle to beat Kazuchika Okada, and every time he got closer and closer until we finally got to Dominion of last year, and he was finally able to beat Kazuchika Okada. So all these kind of top guys that he has plans for, they have setbacks that eventually leads to the big moment when they finally overcome whatever obstacle it is for them to hurdle.
Yeah, this isn't Tenzan Must Lose from 2003, like kind of that era of New Japan. That's a dated reference. But yeah, where the person is losing, but there is a reason to it, which was the difference with Tenzan Must Lose, where Tenzan became super popular by this method, but there wasn't any plan for him to actually win anything down the line. So yeah, he just left. But there is a plan here. with the breaking down, as you said, with Okada, he left in tears. I think after winning the G1 Climax, he still didn't win. So there's a little thing here with Kota Ibushi. The only thing that kind of throws it into the works a little bit is this year's also been a kind of a climb, but I feel like it's more of a climb to being a main eventer than being champion. Like, coming out of this Wrestle Kingdom, Kota Ibushi's a main eventer. Like, I feel like he'll be solidified in that, and they kind of staple that home over the course of the year. He's not winning the title, though. That's still yet to come. Naito's story, he's not just a main eventer, he's a megastar. His stable is the most popular one in wrestling. Like, he's absolutely huge. It's incredible. Like, I can't really state this. I don't really know how to state this properly, but Naito in Japan, for Western fans, he is their Kenny Omega, I guess, in a way. Just the absolutely beloved that king of the stable. So this is Kenny Omega when he was in Bullet Club, specifically. Just to make it worth the comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is like the king of that stable, and he is incredibly popular. Their merch sells like absolute crazy. But his arc hasn't been Naito becoming a main eventer. He's going into this already that he and Okada are number 1 and 2. And they've already had their kind of Stone Cold and The Rock meeting. They've had the first 2. But the second one, they felt like absolute megastars. This feels like they already are both megastars. They've already made it at the last one. This is, can Naito actually win? Can he do it? And yes, surely he has to. Ibushi, is just starting that.
Yeah, if Naito doesn't win here, then I give people all the right to complain. Because that would be bad booking here if you don't end up putting the belt on Naito. I mean, it's the perfect time. The story is right there. If they can't wait any longer, like we mentioned earlier, his body is breaking down. If you want him to be in these main events and have these crazy matches, you got to do it now. Because if it doesn't happen now, I don't think he'll ever win the IWGP title again. And I think he'll just be kind of stuck in a Nakamura role where they're just kind of the IC champion. They're the most popular guy, but they never end up really having, that IWGP title run that kind of defines them.
Yeah, the only positive I can see about him, so far this has been the reassuring, kayfabe Raycash. It'll be fine, Ray. Fine, man. It's all right. But with the only positive I can see about that not happening if he doesn't is because he has dropped hints that he'd like somebody in LIJ to overtake him as leader. They could maybe use that to propel forward that idea of if he loses LIJ, the rest of them rise, maybe, or one of them rises, or we get heel Shingo, which I was like, oh yes,
right,
yeah.
There's been rumors that the plan for next year is for Evil to break away from LIJ and not team with Sonata anymore and just kind of go solo. So I don't know, something happens there, like they have the LIJ celebration and Evil's jealous and turns his back on Naito and kind of breaks off that way. So I don't know how that's going to all play out.
I like with the Evil when I was booking the G1 Climax, trying to predict it with Sir Sam over on Lords of Pain. Shout out to Sir Sam. When I was trying to book Evil, I came up with the idea of, because he calls himself the King of Darkness, but I love that. If somebody called themselves the King of Gold, they've kind of got an issue, and the gold actually has control over them, not the other way around. I'd love it if that happened to Evil, where he calls himself the King of Darkness, but in the end it consumes him and becomes this really, genuinely evil character. And I was like, oh yes, I'd love that. That'd be amazing. I don't think they'll do that. It'll be more of an emotional kind of thing as well. And that story it's the kind of, essentially it's the brothers, but one of them goes evil, so it's quite simple when you think about it. I don't know if New Japan would go for a story that simple, because they like to make it longer and kind of more complex than that. And then one time they were brothers, but he turned to the darkness. It's really cheesy when you say it like that. But I like the idea as Evil as a massive heel. But then I also like the idea of heel Shingo, just because of Dragon Gate. I've seen how great he is in that role. But yeah, they're all beloved now. If Naito doesn't win, then that could lead to the really interesting story of the changing of the tide for LIJ, be it they fall apart, or being that without Naito kind of being a sturdy character, or if they rise and overtake Naito. That's the only positive I can see in Naito not winning, but at the same time you've kind of broken Naito's arc. And if there is one thing with New Japan, some people might call it predictable on the night, but you've done years of foreshadowing and building. It's where the arc is naturally going, so it'd be really weird to go against that. It doesn't really make that much sense to me. Like, for me, the worst case scenario is Naito doesn't even beat Jay White. Jay White versus Ibushi, I guess, in the main event. And I'm like, ugh. And, Jay White got his win back over Ibushi. Oh, that's not what I want. That would be like the worst case for me.
I highly doubt that's where they're going to go. But I do think it is going to be Jay White and Ibushi in the non-title match on January 5th. And Jay will get the win back. 'Cause I think they're telling a story with Jay White too, with him having kind of these big moments at the Tokyo Dome last year, beating Okada in record time, 14 minutes at Wrestle Kingdom 13. And so I think he's going to have another kind of big win here on January 5th to kind of keep that Dome momentum going. And there's another story that they can tell with, Okada still needs to get revenge from that loss. So the whole story of, Okada losing on January 5th, Jay winning on January 5th, that kind of plays in their story. And then, down the line, they could do another Jay White Ibushi match, Jay White Okada match at the main event of the Dome.
They could. That's a shout, yeah. Especially they could even do Ibushi being too distraught to, after losing with his G1 Climax win and after losing against Okada, too distraught to truly focus on Jay White and all of the interference, because that's pretty much guaranteed that will be taking place in that match. I like that story as well. It kickstarts Ibushi's redemption arc, or arc through his struggle as well. So yeah, I think the one thing I love about New Japan is we've so easily been able to realise or give multiple stories to the characters, because there's so many roads going in that coming out, like so many possibilities. Like even if one character arc is a bit, oh no, very a fantastic way of describing it. Then. But if all four characters have got avenues to go, and even if it might be on the night a bit, there are still really interesting storylines you can do with that regardless, just because of the long-term booking that's been set up. There are possibilities for every single outcome. But the big one that has been told is Naito. And one guy we haven't talked about is Okada, because he's had his redemption arc with him now at the point where every single night he rips off the disco pants and he's got the trunks back on. And the crowd still pop for it. I love how that's become part of his character.
Okada's kind of become like he's kind of like the most least interesting guy going into this story, because he's been a champion. His title run hasn't been that great. Like, he's had a lot of repeat title defenses, and he's had a lot of great matches, but it's kind of been boring. And then in this whole double title situation, he is the only guy out of the four who does not want to win both belts. All, Ibushi, Jay White, and Naito, they want to be the first ever double champion. They want to hold both belts. Okada's like, whatever, I don't care. I already have the top belt. I don't need another belt. So he's kind of doing this because he has to, and he doesn't really have any motivation going into this. So it kind of makes him the least interesting guy in this whole story.
Yeah, his character at the moment kind of is, he's the champion, he's the ace, he is the top dog. That's his character. And in terms of a setup for Naito to overcome, yeah, that's perfectly fine, as long as Okada doesn't win. I'm fine with that character. So where does he go after that? I'm not really sure, but of course, that's where in Gedo we trust. Over time, we'll realise that he has got something for him. But yeah, going in, he has overcome all those really interesting character issues, and now he is the ace. He can now, when he goes Scooby-Dooby-Doo, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just fun. He's not cracking. Rocky's safe. You're your boy's best friend, Rocky. he's safe. I noticed how Rocky's been on. So new guy on the intro. I can't remember who it was. Who was it on the intro? Bloody listen to Keep It Strong Style today. I can't remember who he had. Doesn't matter.
Oh, on the intro on this week's?
Yes.
I think it was Scorpio Sky.
That was it, yeah. He won on AEW, so and he was on Kiss, boys. It's nothing but winning. But yeah, Okada's easily the least interesting, but that also adds to that feeling of, well, surely he's not winning then. So in terms of build and character, it's perfect for Naito to win. But then it creeps in the back of your mind. I don't know if that's more because we're sitting here going, in Gedo we trust. We trust in Gedo. But it is there of, does he have a different plan? Or is that little... Because we watch WWE, we're used to it. That's a world where it doesn't matter the build. Anything can happen on the night. The build doesn't really matter. You can do a shock like that in WWE just because on the night anything really could happen. That's not the same in New Japan. If you do watch it kind of like to the attention that we do, or Jeremy watches it to an even greater attention than I do, but if you do watch it like that, then you will notice the trends in the build and the kind of character nods that are happening. Like, people who don't really tune into New Japan that much won't have noticed really like all the subtle hints to doing the double championship that have been going on for a really long time. I want to say the majority of this year that it's been hinted at, and now finally it's here. If you hadn't been, because you have to watch the backstage interviews really to see that, and it didn't really
a lot of that stuff
after the G1.
Yeah, a lot of that stuff happens in the backstage promos. And I know a lot of people who are kind of anti-New Japan, or they're either really big WWE people that are like, where are the promos? Like, it's just matches. There's no stories being told. Well, it's like, well, most of the stories are told in the ring, and then there are press conferences after every show, and these guys go out there and cut promos after every match, even the Road to shows. So there's constantly stories being told in the backstage promos. Yeah,
it's like how stories are told in other combat sports, like MMA, boxing, or what have you. That's kind of how it's done. Like, all the taunting and that is done in press conferences or media scrums or whatever. And then the actual kind of bigger storytelling of the championships and all of that is done in the ring. And it adds to the kind of the slightly more, when I say a more realistic presentation or the more sports-like presentation, because there's a whole conversation when AEW said that. That's what I envisioned. Like, there would be the media scrums and things, and majority of the stories would be in the ring. You wouldn't get any. I don't know how to describe the Rusev storyline, but that. You're not going to get anything like that. Yeah. You do get comedy in there, obviously. Like, is that meant to be? No, it's move. It's like, is it meant to be comedy? I don't know. But yeah, so with it still is comedy. Like, I love taking the piss now whenever Rocky and Taguchi are both on the tag team. It's like, that's sports entertainment, or more realistic, or sports like. It's coming when Rocky's got his basketball. Taguchi's got. Piss! The Rugby World Cup's gone. What does Taguchi do now? Who is Taguchi? What is he?
I know. Maybe he'll go back to the masked horse.
I love how he created a backstory for that. It's such a silly thing. It's like, I was raised. I'm a real horse. I was raised by horses. I was taken in. They are my parents, and they taught me to wrestle. That's such nonsense. Whatever's next for Taguchi, he'll find his way, and he'll generate the next Team Taguchi as well, because all of those move on. Like, they become really successful, Team Taguchi. Like, Ricochet's killing it now in WWE. Just to say, Team Taguchi goes on to some success. That should be looked into.
Yeah.
He's actually a very, very good manager. Like, next up, Juice Robinson, Finn Juice, they're going to be tag team champions, surely. That's my outside the box prediction for next year. Finn Juice become tag team champions.
Well, I think that it might be at Wrestle Kingdom. I think that Finn Juice is one of the top teams. They're actually my pick to win the World Tag League this year, and I think they will end up beating GOD on whatever night the title match will be.
And if you want to hear Jeremy's more in-depth thoughts on the World Tag League, he and Youngboy did an extremely in-depth preview on their Keeping It Strong style from this week. I've tagged them in a tweet about this show. If you want to go over there, you'll be able to find it all, or Social Suplex and Podbean or whatever.
Also, one of our writers, Murray Bone, also known as Muzza online, he just wrote a kind of in-depth preview too for the site. It's going to be up by the time I believe this show comes out. That should be up on the site as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of me going, wait, I can stop this tangent but still plug it for people who actually do care. But yeah, there's I think because we're going on a tangent, that tells me we've probably finished talking about the Wrestle Kingdom main event scene. But yeah, I've not, so by that poll and everything, like, people in Japan on a whole, they're fine with it. Over in the West, the super hardcore Ingader we trust, like me and Jeremy, we're fine with it. The more, I guess, wider wrestling viewing, or maybe not as much, especially for somebody jumping from WWE, and you're used to be like, the story is very, very easy to follow in WWE because they essentially they just scream it in your face. So it's really blatant to know. Like, people just say their emotions. That's not how people. That's so weird. It was like, oh, I know you hate me, but I'm going to keep my eye on you. He was like, yes, I do hate you. He was like, what is this? That's not how people talk. But yeah, it's really, really easy to follow because of that. There isn't any of that in New Japan. It's more like looks and things. But that's what I like most about AEW. Like when Kenny Omega asked this week, spoilers if you've not seen AEW this week, but then on Wednesday, I'm talking about it. But with when he asked the what's his name, the medical man, I'm losing my brain turning off. When he asked
the doctor,
yes, the doctor, the physician, whatever. When they asked him how was John Moxley, is he cleared? Because Kenny Omega wasn't clear, and he said, "Oh no, he's bound up, but no, he's cleared." And just the look on Omega's face, she's like, "Oh, that's just so much more storytelling than in WWE." They must have said, oh, "Is Moxley fit? Moxley can't be fit. If Moxley's fit, that's going to hurt me. Oh, he's not fit. Oh, that hurts me. That does." That's not, no. So that's the kind of thing I love about New Japan as well. When there is that kind of storyline, you're mostly going through it by the expressions and the work by them in the ring. You don't have them screaming it at you, and yeah.
New Japan definitely follows the show don't tell philosophy.
Yes, and it works really, really well. It's the key to filmmaking. I don't know why WWE with so many TV people, but they are soap opera TV people, so maybe it's a little bit different. Like,
I took a... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to make a little gag, so if you want to do your more important point. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, like, I took a lot of, like, TV production, video production classes in college, and, like, a lot, that, show don't tell was always a point that was kind of, like, drilled into us, so...
Because I did film production, which is why so often WWE is like a nightmare to watch for me, because I know I don't watch it like a normal person. Like anyone I reckon who's done a film production or TV production course, when you watch WWE, like, oh, they're breaking so many of the rules. Oh, it hurts. It's not great. Like, I was taught, like, in terms of editing, you count to 3, and you ask yourself, by that 3rd second, why haven't I cut yet? If you watch WWE, they pretty much cut every single time it makes it to 3 seconds. That's not what the rule means. You count to 3. If there is a reason, you don't cut. That sometimes there are reasons. In WWE, it's mental, just the amount of times they cut. That doesn't mean that whenever there's a sequence of like 3-second cuts that it's bad. No, because that's work. It's perfectly fine. I've seen New Japan do it. I've seen multiple promotions do it. That's perfectly fine. It's when you are doing it, even though there is something where you probably didn't need to cut for. Like, that's the bit that gets me WWE. And the 30 cuts within, like, a cut every half a second. That's the mental stuff. that's crazy.
It's so bad.
Oh, and because we're in the UK, I got the reminder of the editing of the sound as well. It's like, oh, I forgot how much I was happy this was gone. Just like, where you visually you see the crowd cheering, but then you hear boo. But they're not even recording an English crowd. It's American boos. You can tell the difference. It's such it always reminds me of Michelle McCool. This is a 10-year reference at this point. But it was her and Layla doing their little breakup storyline, and it was whoever lost would leave the WWE at the next pay-per-view. And live, Michelle McCool said, and whoever loses leaves WWE, and the crowd reacts to it like, sorry, I got that completely wrong. Then she says the loser leaves SmackDown. She was meant to say WWE, but she said SmackDown. So they recorded her in post saying WWE. But it's like she's in a studio recording it perfectly, like Jeremy is now in that. But it's meant to be in front of a crowd, and the rest of the sentence is in front of a crowd. So then when it cuts to her saying WWE, it's hilarious. Like, I don't know if it's on the network because I've not looked, but it was absolutely hilarious when I watched it live. It's like, and whoever loses leaves WWE.
It sounded like a 2K video game promo.
I've stayed well clear of 2K20, like nowhere near. Just,
yeah, same here.
like it's weird. It's like that's what reviews are for. It's mental. That made me laugh the day release, where it was just loads and loads of people was like, "Oh god, this game is broken." It's like, yes, all the reviewers told you that, and you bought it anyway. Yeah. Yes, it happens all the time in gaming. Eventually, people learn. It happens. Sales were down anyway. It turns out it was a minority that did that because we are on Twitter. We're engaging with the hardcore fans quite a lot. The hardcore fans were those who did buy it, but the hardcore fans who were informed did not. We got brains on us, as I like to think. But yes, editing from New Japan is also amazing. They're the ones innovating with camera shots. Not really AEW or WWE really that innovative with their camera shots. AEWs look cool, but I feel like New Japan are really the ones trying out new stuff. So that they're setting the trends with that, which is still great to see. Even though they've kind of fallen in the West to that third promotion, the influence is still there. I love to see that, yeah. Right, so if we got off on another, I led us on 2 or 3 tangents there. Just like a stream of consciousness.
It's your show, man. You can do whatever you want.
When I'm solo, the streams of consciousness are untamed. It's a wild ride. I fear for when we do the Wrestle Kingdom shows where I'm going to be the most awake. That's a fear. Because they're quite tangenty as they are as well. That's going to be a little bit interesting. Right, so that's Wrestle Kingdom out of the way. Now we're going to talk about New Japan Showdown. If you're watching on YouTube, that's the image behind Cartoon Me. I've tried to line it up, and I'm really proud of it. It looks all right. So, New Japan Showdown, which took place November 9th, that's the bloody date. I watched it on Sunday. Doesn't really matter when we watched it, because I don't know why I'm bringing that up. But we had a very, very interesting card, which as soon as I started watching the show, I was hit by this realisation of just how kind of relaxed it felt. Because did you watch Full Gear first as well?
Yes, I did. Yeah, we had some guys over here at the Keeping a Strong Style Dojo, and we had a little Full Gear pay-per-view party, and then I watched Showdown the next day.
So over here in Atlantis, where it's all flooded with water, there was... so I watched Full Gear, and I was up late doing the show with Jam Man immediately after. So that's up on YouTube as well. LOP Radio Aftershock, if you want to go listen to that. So I didn't go to bed till 7 p.m. Let's try that one again. 7 a.m. Very different story. So and I was up from 8 a.m. the previous day, so I'd been up 23 hours by that point. Sunday was a write-off. As in, I'm doing nothing Sunday. Then I saw the New Japan tweet saying that the show would be taking place. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. I can do that. They accidentally said it'd be live at 4 p.m. And I was like, well, it's obviously not. But that could be my time to watch it. I'll be up by 4 p.m. Like, one job, get up by 4 p.m. I can work with that. That's fine. And it was absolutely fantastic for me. It was the perfect viewing to watch when I was absolutely knackered. And for me, it was like the tonal shift. So this is what really the big thing about this is it's quite important that I did watch Full Gear the night before, which was chaotic to say the least. Pretty violent, pretty high, kind of really, really high energy as well, like kind of amping you up kind of show. And at the end was absolutely mental, really. Just the way you're reacting to it, and it's like it is a kind of tighten your neck kind of viewing where you're just going, ooh, no, don't stop sweeping, Kenny, please. No.
Yeah, that main event was awesome.
So so just the amount of kind of energy from that show to then go to New Japan, where the atmosphere was obviously from the very, very first match where you had Ren Narita versus Alex Coughlin. Like, it was the perfect tempo for me, because it's like the show was at a nice slow pace, and Kevin Kelly was like, oh, welcome guys, welcome, just have a lovely sit down, we've got a cup of tea there for you, oh, isn't this lovely, I'll just quickly tell you a lovely story about Ren Narita. And Tiger, I loved Tiger on commentary. Like, he just jumped in with the odd little line about something, but he really added to the fact it's like I'm just in like a coffee shop with two guys, and I'm watching New Japan on my laptop whilst they just tell me stories. Like, oh, I love it. It was the perfect show for me in the state that I was in. So, yeah. But Jeremy, what did you make? Your overall impressions of the show?
Yeah, overall, I thought it was a pretty good show. I know the young boy and I were pretty hard critics of the announcement of New Japan of America and just, the production quality of the Fighting Spirit Unleashed shows that were in the Northeast tour and the Super J Cup the California tour they did for that. Like the production quality for both of those shows were not great. The camera work wasn't great. They were up, on delay, and those were just like a hot mess. And so they did a great job kind of turning things around here for the the Western productions. I thought the production of the show looked great. I loved the stage. I thought the camera worked looked pretty good. They had a New Japan ring. Everything looked really good, and they had a solid card. So overall, I enjoyed it, and I thought it was very good.
So I guess criticism that I have seen before the show was, this is Liger's last match. But I don't know, it feels like this might be the kind of way he'd like to go out, just kind of subdued, not the main focus of the show, get the crowd focused on Wrestle Kingdom. It was kind of like the way they kind of ended it, compared to going say goodbye to Liger. They did that in the second match. And of course the crowd did pop, but it's like they did it on their own rather than the show telling them this is where you cheer Liger, which is a little bit interesting for his last ever match. Because I don't know if the crowd would have wanted that moment just for them to blatantly go and say thank you to Liger type of thing. It's just, no, what's the back like a normal situation, and then the crowd did it whilst they're waiting for the next match to start. Which, I wasn't expecting it to go that way, but of course I don't know how these type of things are normally done in New Japan, how they work it, or if it's like, because Liger is so respected, he got to choose, which wouldn't surprise me either.
And the thing with Liger too, I hear so many stories just how unselfish he is. Like he's always willing to put somebody else over, and especially now in kind of this the later part of his career, he's always been willing to work with new talents and get younger guys over and make sure the focus is on the current guys and not on him. And a very, very giving guy and giving back to the business. So I'm sure Liger was probably very excited to kind of work with Aaron Solo and kind of give him a rub, and then also get over this Cabana and Yano team that's going to be in the World Tag League coming up. So I'm sure, like you said, this was kind of probably Liger's choice in the way he wanted to go out. But personally, as a longtime Liger fan, I would have loved to seen him have a singles match. I'm not saying he had to go out there and have like a 20-minute epic with Will Ospreay or Dragon Lee or anything, but he could have had a nice little one-on-one match. Maybe him versus Aaron Solo, some kind of singles match for him to kind of go out with his last U.S. appearance.
Yeah, and I feel like it worked on the show, if that makes sense. Like, it didn't feel like the crowd were like, I wanted more than that. It's like, no, they enjoyed a Liger tag and out he went, and that was it. Like, nothing remarkable. But, as you were just saying, in the end, he even lost as well. And they got over the dream team of Yano and Dogabana. I know there are so many people who absolutely hate Yano, as in, there's quite a few fans who don't really like comedy in wrestling. Because I'm somebody where, outside of this, I've got a lot of, world, interviewing comedians and the stand-up comedy world here in the UK. I've been lucky enough to have quite a lot of time hanging around that world. So, but it's fair to say that I am a fan of comedy. I'm perfectly fine with that. I pop every time there's Orange Cassidy. Love the guy. And Yano, for me, in the G1, he is my MVP. It's a joke between me and Sir Sam, but yeah, whenever people say, what are your MVPs for the G1 Climax? In 2018, legitimately, I was like, no, Yano. He was amazing in the G1 2018. I absolutely loved him. This year as well, he's an absolute joy. He's my personal MVP, every time. I love the comedy. And when they did the New Japan Cup earlier in the year, people were kind of predicting, hopefully Cabana and Yano get eliminated in the first round so we don't have to see more of them. And I'm like, no, the ultimate comedy match. Cabana versus Yano. It took place in America. They spent 5 minutes selling DVDs. It was amazing. I loved it. And I wanted to see exactly that in the New Japan Cup, and it was again just everything. It was a dream pairing, and now they are the dream team. They are the most dangerous tag team, not because of the violence, but because of all the stuff you need to be aware of, because they are going to be the most cheeky tag team in that tournament. Keeping track of one Yano is difficult enough, but there's two of them. Like, good luck.
Right, yeah, these guys, they're going to pick up a lot of, upset wins in this tournament with between, Yano's low blow and roll up and Cabana's Superman pin. These guys, they're going to be very entertaining, and they're going to pick up a lot of wins. I think more wins than people expect them to do.
And I guess this was a good way to get people ready for that. It's just, this was their kind of first, like, they're going to get more, they're going to get those wins they're not expecting, and this is exactly where it's going to go. Yeah. But also, in terms of establishing folk, I've not actually seen the World Tag League standings. Not standings, you know what I mean, the announcements. Desperado, is there a Suzuki Gun? There isn't there? Is it ZSJ and someone?
Yeah,
Taichi?
So there's two Suzuki Gun teams. There's the Dangerous Techers team, which is Saber and Taichi, and then Suzuki and Archer are teaming.
Oh, of course they are. Yes. Yes, I remembered the people just playing on the Everybody Dies. It's like, and now Suzuki's with him. Oh shit.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of young lions that get hurt through this tour.
I feel so sorry for all of the young lions who are going to be working this World Tag Team.
Yeah, they're going to get wrecked by Archer and Suzuki.
Yeah. So good luck with those guys. If they're going to lose, it's going to be by disqualification kind of thing, or they're too focused on causing havoc, and that cost them the match somehow. So but yeah, Dangerous Techers. I saw Zack Sabre Jr. tweet about that. I don't know why I forgot. They might be the team that gets higher up in the ranking, just in terms of like the danger kind of feeling of them. Well, or this kind of starts to build tension within Suzuki Gun, given that is the rumor still that Suzuki's leaving at the end of his contract?
I haven't heard much of those rumors since the Liger match. That was kind of like the big thing going into that match. But since the match happened, I have not heard rumors that he's going, and so it looks like he'll still be around. And with Saber and Taichi, they did very well in last year's World Tag League. They tied in 5th place with 16 points with Finjuice, and so they racked up a lot of points last year. And I could see them being one of the teams that is in that spot where if they win their last match, they could get into the title match.
Because I don't think there'll be many other big plans for them. Who knows what Ishii's... Oh, is her? Well, Kenta, isn't he? He's a never open weight champion. Has Kenta's match been announced? I don't think it has.
Has not, but Kenta is in the World Tag League. He's teaming with Yujiro Takahashi.
Ah, yes, yeah. Weirdly, that makes a lot of sense. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I saw that, it's just like, I don't know why I feel like they should click automatically, just like clockwork. I don't know why. I just feel like they really should. Kenta feels like a badass who could turn on the charm whenever he wants to. He just doesn't.
Right.
It's under his control.
And I feel like they will gel together better than Yujiro and Hangman Page have done the last two tournaments. It was kind of an odd pairing.
One positive about the Elite moving on is quite often when they gelled with the lower down Bullet Club guys, it didn't quite feel right because you blatantly had your Elite and not Elite. And whenever they kind of did a tag between the two, it felt a bit, I guess it's fine. Yeah. But no, now I like that Bullet Club's kind of, they've gone back to the well a little bit, and they're all one unit that everybody hates. And that's the one thing I love the most about this Bullet Club kind of era is you don't just hate one of them, you hate most of the group. And it's really difficult to do, to genuinely get you to not like so many, especially in this age where we talk about how with so many heels we'll talk about how great they are. Like with Suzuki, of course he's a respected veteran, so I'll use Zack Sabre Jr. instead. With Zack Sabre Jr. or Taichi, there's something about them where you kind of enjoy them even though they're meant to be the dirty, dastardly heels. With Bullet Club, I don't get that. From the top down, Jay White set a fantastic precedent. You don't just not like them; you generally do hate the heels, and that's fantastic to see. Just to see that level throughout the whole group. So I
Yeah.
don't think I felt that since like the original incarnation.
Yeah, I think Bullet Club has been great this year. I actually wrote something for a submission for the Voices of Wrestling's New Japan Year, an ebook, and hopefully that gets approved and in. But I wrote an essay about Bullet Club and just what a great year they've had. A lot of Western fans that have left, or if they still watch, they don't see Bullet Club in the same light that they used to. It's not the kind of the cool heels or these cool, guys doing the crotch chops anymore. You got guys who are, being heels and getting heat and being dastardly. Like you mentioned, Jay White has done a great job kind of leading the charge. Then you got the addition of El Phantasmo this year, and he's doing a great job of generating heat and getting people to hate him. And guys like Taiji Ishimori, who's also had a good year. And even Guerrillas of Destiny, this has probably been the best year they've had. They won both the Ring of Honor and IWGP titles at Madison Square Garden. They've had a lot of successful title defenses, and they've had a lot of really good tag matches this year. So overall, I feel like Bullet Club has just been on a roll this year.
It's just a shame that it's not Jay White's year. It doesn't feel like this Wrestle Kingdom is going to be like Bullet Club's time. I'm expecting quite a lot of losses, like to everybody across the board, whichever match they have or whatever. But it is as a stable, they feel a lot more together than they've done for quite some time, and that's great to hear, great to see.
Yeah, I think all the additions they've had this year have been great with Phantasmo and Kenta. I think they fit in well, and I think the group is like more of a solid unit right now.
Well, because we're leaving an era where like that last wave to join the Bullet Club under the Elite era is kind of like, oh, they're getting added as well, or them too. And then there's the pub quiz answer. That's not a phrase that Americans would understand. Pop quiz, like a sudden pop quiz answer of who was the last, I guess, Ring of Honor person to join the Bullet Club. It's like, oh yeah, Frankie Kazarian. I believe you forgetting he was part of Bullet Club. Like so many were added.
I think that was just wasn't that just a swerve for for them to bring back I think Christopher Daniels, and then he eventually went back with Daniels and they feuded with Bullet Club. Yeah,
so I think they were like the like massive heel group, and they could sense the tide changing a bit, and then Frankie Kazarian joined, because I think that led to Christopher Daniels' World Championship reign. Just that kind of kickstarted that, like really gave him momentum. But Kazarian it wasn't like he's with them for 1 week kind of things. I feel like he was with them for like a solid month, or maybe a little bit more than that as well.
I think it was at least at least a month that he was kind of with them, and then they did the turn.
Yeah, so there was so that did create that era though, where it did feel like if somebody was added to Bullet Club, it was like, oh, another person. So it's been great with this kind of reset that's happened, that when somebody's added, it feels like they 100% belong. Like, it took a while for Paige to feel right, for example, or Adam Cole as well. Like, he was finally coming into his own, and it kind of felt like he was finally getting into Bullet Club, and it felt like he had a proper place, and then he got signed to NXT. So, and then Cody did 1,000,000 times better with the same storyline, essentially. It was like, oh.
Right, yeah. Cody just fell right in Adam Cole's role.
Like perfectly, like to a T. Like Adam Cole left at Wrestle Kingdom, in came Cody, and it's like, oh, fantastically. It's weird to think that a year and a half ago, Cody was the most hated man, like by Western fans in New Japan. But like now, he's absolutely beloved as the best babyface. Like he's done the full 180 within a year and a half, from the most hated to the most beloved. And I just think back to it was like one of the being the elites, where it was in between like their season 1 and season 2. And Cody was just sat there at the table where they're doing a meeting, like what they're going to do for the next season. And he was just like, "Can I be more likable this time?"
Yeah, I remember that.
I just love looking back at that one, because obviously it's like, yeah, they did that. Yeah, he's completely flip flop now. Yeah, but yeah, I love the state of Bullet Club as it is right now. Weirdly, I don't know why I brought that up, because Tag League was all over the place, but we did get the fourth match of the night, which was I was trying to link TJP, Juice Robinson, and Tomohiro Ishii together, but there's nothing. I don't know why they were together. Versus LIJs, Bushi, Sanada, and Evil. Is Juice in the tag league?
Yes, him and Finley will be
Finley.
teaming up.
Yes, of course. I'm an idiot. I thought, assumably Juice was in this just so he's on the card. TJP has actually been a nice addition as well. If I feel like because he is a very, very good wrestler, and I feel like where he's been placed in the New Japan kind of levels is like perfect for him, especially like in these tag matches where he gets a sprint of stuff to do, or like at the start of the card where he's wrestling somebody, you'll have a nice, fun, entertaining match. He's been used really, really well, and I could see him being in New Japan for quite a while in this kind of role where he never really challenges for anything, but he finds a nice place for himself. Like,
I'm a huge fan. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of TJP, and he was one of the guys that were a part of the original LA dojo, and trained with guys like Samoa Joe and Rocky Romero and guys like that. And I think it's incredible. I mean, he's been all over the world. He's been in pretty much every promotion there is to be in under many different gimmicks. And he's a really great wrestler. I think he's very underrated, especially coming off of the 205 live run where everybody just hated him for whatever reason. But yeah, I think he's a great wrestler. I think he's been fitting in well in New Japan. And I can see him being, one of the stars of New Japan of America.
Yeah, it's one of those where I don't know how much to talk about New Japan of America because the announcement was, I guess. It wasn't really, because we have no information essentially.
Right. Well, technically, this show was like the first show under the New Japan of America banner.
Oh, okay. That might explain the improved production, as in they're trying to at least match that. So when you go to these shows, you're going to get great production like this.
Yeah.
And they go for these size arenas, I'd assume. Like nothing massive, but like a couple thousand. Should fit them pretty well. And that was also because this was on at the exact same time as Full Gear. And the actual turnout for it was like really good. I don't know why I was surprised by that. It just caught me off guard. I was kind of worried, especially after the past few shows. I was kind of worried like a venue of this size, would they actually sell it out, especially as it's the same night as Full Gear, which would obviously attract quite a lot of attention. No, they packed the place. Fantastic atmosphere as well. It was it was nice to see that the interest was there to that degree.
But I do think from a streaming standpoint, it was a mistake to have this show the same weekend of Full Gear. And I mentioned this week on Keeping It Strong Style too, like going forward, when they're planning out these New Japan of America shows, they need to look at the calendar and see, all right, is AEW running? Is WWE running? Like, all right, if not, then that's, pick the right weekends to run the show so that way they don't get lost in the shuffle or lose a lot of buzz.
Because if you do it right, then you've got what we had at WrestleMania, where if you're doing it on a weekend where there is wrestling, they can add themselves to that schedule if they book it correctly, compared to this where they were at the exact same time, and obviously I know which one I'm watching. Mostly because for the site, I don't have a choice. But, like a normal fan, I'm assuming a lot of Western fans will tune into AEW over New Japan. So it is a weird one, but over WrestleMania weekend, they slotted in fantastically. If anything, they added to the hype of WrestleMania as well, just to feed or follow all the way through for the weekend. So,
yeah, and it was great, especially with like NXT moving. Also, like fans didn't have to choose. Like you could, like I went to both Supercard and NXT Takeover, so yeah, it's ended up being a great weekend.
I remember it as seeing on Twitter just everyone getting sick of Rich playing Guerrillas of Destiny's new theme at the time over and over and over. People on Twitter just like, I mean, it's not a bad theme, but I'm starting to break. It's nice to see that from a distance, especially because I was ill, so it was nice to see other people suffer. But yes, it can work with New Japan US. It's just, and this showed, like, for me, there is interest there. Even when they're running against Full Gear, they still pack the place. So that's good to see. It was a new market as well, because going to San Jose for the very first time, which, again, a smart move to kind of drop stuff there to be going, especially as AEW is doing a similar thing, like going to markets that just haven't had any wrestling. Never mind, like they've never had New Japan, for example, but never had wrestling for... I'm about to create an oxymoron here. Never had wrestling for such a long amount of time. Obviously, I've had it in the past. It's been quite a while.
Yeah, AEW is doing a great job of kind of serving, especially like those like southern cities and the southeast kind of areas too. And Yeah, they've been doing a great job picking the cities and kind of going back to some like historic wrestling venues, like the one they were in Charlotte a couple weeks ago. So they're doing a great job with their kind of targeting.
I just want to say we've got a message from King W. I don't know. I was going to say 2-1000 like he's a Terminator. I like saying it like that now. That New Japan announced the San Jose show before Full Gear was announced, and I think I was talking about this I was talking about it with somebody. Oh, with Jan on Saturday, after Full Gear. With New Japan being a foreign promotion, it makes a lot of sense that this would have had to have been in the works for a much longer amount of time than Full Gear would have for AEW, especially as AEW didn't exist until like partway through this year. June was really their first kind of show. I don't know when they start booking venues, but yeah, it would make sense that New Japan had this scheduled beforehand and then AEW came. That does actually change something there, but in terms of yeah.
So yeah, in this situation, yeah, they couldn't have avoided it. But I mean, this is the same company that was planning to do shows the weekend of the Super Bowl here in the States.
That's crazy.
So they do sometimes have a lack of awareness of what's going on around them, and especially in the States. But yeah, in a situation like that where the AEW pay-per-view gets announced afterwards and you already have it booked, then yeah, that's one thing. But also, I mean, going down the line, especially with WWE, whose schedule's kind of out there, they can at least avoid those shows.
Sorry, he's sending more messages. It's caught me off guard. Oh, this is quite interesting. I'm sorry, Jeremy. Now I'm doing a live podcast, but I'm reading quite an interesting journey for. I'll get to those later, but yeah, especially like the story. I completely forgot about that story, the Super Bowl. It's just like, yeah. Look up stuff, please. You have to be aware of what is going on in America. Like me being English, I don't know when things are. Like baseball, I don't know about the baseballs. It means nothing to me. Like I don't know when the Super Bowl is. I just know it'll pop up on my like news kind of world. It'll say, "Oh, the Super Bowl's this weekend, and the NFL show's on." Oh, that's interesting. But I'm not going to watch it. But it's nice to know that it's on. Some people. So there are some mental people who do as like what I would do for WrestleMania, but they do it for the Super Bowl as well as like including the. I'm about to sound really not American here. Super Bowl does have a semi-final. I'm not being an idiot here.
Well, there's like so I'm not the biggest football guy, but yeah, there's like the playoffs, and so you have like the semifinals of the playoff to the two teams, like the 4 teams will end off playing in the playoff, and then the 2 final teams will be in the Super Bowl.
So the first time I ever watched the Super Bowl, I got into the Saints. It would have been at like the start of this decade, where I got behind the Saints for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe I like the white and gold, but they did really well in the semi-final and then the final. But that's the only time I ever stayed up to watch it. Don't ask me what halftime was. That's the thing that normally I've noticed that's the thing that staples the year more than the match itself. Is like who was on the halftime. Oh yes, I know what year it was now. It's like surely the sport would identify that. But no, yeah. I feel like I'm tangenting again. But yeah, so as an Englishman, I kind of do know I can relate to that feeling of not having a clue when anything is. Like I keep forgetting like simple things like Thanksgiving. If my brother wasn't married to a girl from Utah, I wouldn't know this stuff. Like when Thanksgiving is or whatever. Like the American holidays just slip right past me, and then suddenly he's like, "Oh yeah, it is. I'm live like every year on Thanksgiving." So it's like, "Oh, is anyone going to listen? They're going to be eating pie." And normally my listens are actually really good on Thanksgiving because everybody's full and like falling asleep.
That turkey, man, gets you that good nap.
That's what we do at Christmas. It's a question that I've asked before because like there's no set meal. Like from what I could tell, like families will decide they'll have a Christmas meal, but it's not set like nationwide what that meal is. Like I think I've heard like one person say, "Oh, we have like a fish thing." It's like fish on Christmas. Like, what? No, a massive turkey. We have Thanksgiving on Christmas essentially, like the massive turkey with the huge roast and everything. So just the idea of fish? Fish? Are you crazy? I feel like me getting angry at that is a perfect tangent to bring us back to Showdown. Talking of celebration, it's keeping it strong style's best friend, Rocky Romero. I could think of a funnier way to introduce him. Teaming with Yo because Sho was a bit busy. With Hiroki Goto as well. Facing Jado, Taichi Moi, and Kenta. I don't know why this felt like fun, but with Kenta taking... I'm trying to remember who it was. They were doing I think Kenta did the Rocky Romero Forever spot, but then just ran up and kicked whoever was in the corner in the dick. That was hilarious. He's so funny in New Japan. I love his character at the moment.
Yeah, Kenta has always been better served as a heel, and he's doing a great job here, kind of going into that heel dick role and just essentially just being a troll when he's in there in the ring.
Yeah. That was me reading the comments again. Let's go. But yes, Kenta being that troll in the ring, it really does elevate him past anything. Because in WWE, he kind of did it, but the language barrier was always there. And it felt he was 100% hit with the you say your catchphrase kind of thing, like the respect me thing, where if he was going to say anything, it was always like respect me, and he'd point at himself or whatever, or hold his finger up or whatever. But here he's showing he's so much more than that. Like if he's just taking the piss out of his opponents, he seems to have something for everybody as well, which is great. Even the tauntings of Shibata. Because Kenta's not got a match, and I'm assuming most American fans, most fans everywhere, are just like, is he gonna Shibata? Because the reports when Shibata came back were like, he is able to do these things, but he's not cleared for any match. Like, they're not building to a match, and that's just not happening. But they keep building to it. I'm like,
yeah, Shibata keeps getting physical, and they keep kind of, giving these teases of a potential match with him and Kenta at Wrestle Kingdom, but I'm in the middle. I'm on the fence. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, this match kind of teased that they're going to end up doing Kenta versus Goto at the Dome for the Never title and have Goto kind of defend the honor of Shibata and the LA Dojo, and you could potentially do that match, and there could be a ref bump, and Shibata can get his comeuppance on Kenta and help Goto win the Never title, and you have this kind of big moment with them. Or maybe somehow Shibata gets cleared and we could have the Shibata-Kenta match. But with the style that both of those guys work, it kind of has me worried. Will Shibata be able to be safe in there? And, what's going to stop him from going from another headbutt spot?
Yeah, it's Shibata doesn't come across as the guy who would listen to advice, like Hiromu. Like his whole speech, Hiromu was like, the doctors have said that I should tame down my style, maybe a bit like a steel vessel, but I should tame down what I'm doing, be a little bit safer. And then he's out there throwing himself into barricades, going crazy, like doing the Bray Wyatt thing where he's just balancing on his head, going, Mike, please, like upside down.
But to be fair for Hiromu's situation, though, like, it actually wasn't like anything he did in his crazy style that caused him the injury. It was all, Dragon Lee slipping on that Phoenix Plex. So I can understand where Hiromu's coming from.
Yeah, but Shibata comes across as somebody who would have that attitude as well, but is more if anyone told him to tone down his style, it's like, if I'm wrestling as Shibata always wrestles, in that crazy kind of way. And against Kento as well, it's kind of like, if you're going to tone down against anybody, or if Shibata does need to tone down in his wrestling style, you don't book him in a one-on-one Wrestle Kingdom match against Kenta. You just don't. That's just not what you do at all. Especially as Kenta he's kind of trying to prove, or bring back that Kenta that everybody kind of held him as during his days in Noah and Ring of Honor. Like, to bring that Kenta back with that aura. Against Shibata, that they're not going to take it easy if they go against each other.
I mean, they also could do like a tag team match. Maybe you do Shibata and Goto versus Kenta and somebody, and that way you can kind of hide Shibata away in a tag, and then have him do like his big spots towards the end and pin Kenta.
That's a shout. And then he can and this Wrestle Kingdom can be a belt relinquishing kind of time when you got the Intercoms out. So I don't know. That's one thing we were meant to talk about earlier, but there's that idea of, do some titles disappear after this Wrestle Kingdom, especially as they've introduced more and more and more. like, is this the time where a couple of them just fade away a little bit? Especially with the US arriving, and that's not really going anywhere, that title. I wouldn't be surprised if that title features a lot more on the New Japan US shows and kind of gets built up over there. Because, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the original intent of that U.S. title was to main event U.S. shows. I mean, that's why they put it on Kenny Omega first, and that whole U.S. title is going to be all about the U.S. kind of territories and main eventing big U.S. shows. But then the plans end up changing. I think the belt came really before they had a solid plan of what they were going to do here in the States, and so it's kind of languish in that kind of lower card role. You had guys like Jay White took it from Kenny, and then you had Juice having it, and then Juice kind of defended against lower card guys like Chase Owens and Trent Beretta. I mean, Moxley's probably the biggest defense he had, and Moxley is probably the biggest name since Kenny that held the title. And then we had the incident with Mox having to drop the title due to not being able to make it because of the monsoon. And now Archer has the title now. And so Archer is a guy that's going to be on these U.S. shows. We saw him here defending the title later on. And so I think we will be seeing the U.S. title featured a lot more on U.S. shows and kind of being elevated to a higher position.
Like during the typhoon, one of my favourite stories that I saw during that was there was somebody who was working at the airport, and she tweeted about the whole event because it kind of struck her so much. But she was at the airport, like not shunning people away, but turning them away to say like there's a typhoon, get to a safe place, don't be at an airport. It's essentially her job, and somebody turned up and just wasn't leaving. And it's just like, no, it's grounded. Like, there aren't any flights. You're not going to get out. Just go home. And he was like, but it's a typhoon. Surely that will just make the plane go faster. No, that's not how typhoons work. It just made me laugh because you do see some responses like that, like kind of when Moxley couldn't get in. It's like, but other people got in, and he's like, it's only a typhoon. It's not that bad. No, it was that bad. Like, there were the genuine worries. And if you saw the tweets from, I think it was El Fantasmo actually in the dojo, or for a few of the other young lions as well, were there in the dojo, and like it was like the whole downstairs got flooded and everything as well. So it was like, the images are quite mental and make what's happened over here in Nottingham very, very tame. it's like oh, the water's halfway up the wheel. Oh no, 4 inches compared to like whole floor's flooded. It's like, yeah, we may have overreacted a little bit calling it Atlantis. Whatever. Yeah, a little bit of an overreaction. Yeah, really, I'm kind of using this as a slight transition to El Fantasmo. Really convoluted transition. It was like El Fantasmo, he was at dojo. But yes, El Fantasmo defending the Rev Pro British Cruiserweight Championship against Show. As a British person, really cool to see the relationship with Rev Pro and New Japan kind of flourish, especially as what's happened recently. Like the tweet from Pete Dunne from last year's kind of circled back up, where he's saying like the UK independent scene will be perfectly fine. There's no need to worry. Like the talent's definitely there. WWE UK isn't there to kind of suck up all the talent and leave it dry. 1 year later, multiple promotions are closing. It's not in a great state at all. As in, that tweet didn't age well. Because like, don't worry, WWE UK is not going to do any damage. WWE UK end up doing direct damage. Like, no questions asked. But not also forgetting that a lot of that talent has also been sucked up elsewhere as well. Like Marty Scurll's now in Ring of Honor. He doesn't really go to UK anymore. Will Ospreay's gone to New Japan, as I'm assuming with quite a few of the acts. Like Aussie Open. There's something about Aussie Open, I feel like they clicked in New Japan, and I won't be surprised to see them like later on. No, they're not in the right. League, are they?
No, they were supposed to be, but Mark Davis, he tore up like everything in his leg, ACL, MCL. He tore a bunch of stuff up in his knee, so he's going to be out for a while. So Kyle Fletcher is going to be doing singles stuff for right now. I think it was Kyle that went against Umino at that Rev Pro show. Yeah. So I know they were rumored to be in Tag League this year, and so with the injury, they're going to be out. Maybe they might bring in Kyle Fletcher maybe for Super Juniors. Maybe if Dunk Sale is not healthy in time down the line.
Yeah, I do remember now, yeah. But it wouldn't surprise me if, like, when he's fit, and maybe a bit of time after that, that team would go to New Japan because they just feel like because there's a void that needs filling. Like, if there's one massive criticism of New Japan, is that their tag division has just vanished.
Yeah, they're
just rotating the same guys because there really isn't anyone there.
And the funny thing is, like, with Gato booking, like, Gato's a tag team guy. Like, him and Jado were like a great tag team, and he has a lot of history with tag team wrestling, and you would think, being a tag team guy, that he would want to have a good tag division and highlight tag team guys, but that just hasn't been the case. We've kind of, every year you kind of bounce around between a few teams. Like a couple of years ago, it was War Machine and Guerrillas of Destiny and Killer Elite Squad were kind of like the main heavyweight teams, and like this year it's kind of been like God and Evil and Sonata, and that's pretty much really it. You've had some like makeshift teams of like Ishii and Yoshihashi teaming every once in a while, and some other random teams. But yeah, there's never really been a solid focus on the division.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's an odd one that just to really say. But the UK scene's got quite a few like tag teams, so there is talent there, and RevPro would make sense as a place to get that talent. So yeah. Again, thumbs up in terms of the relationship between RevPro and NJPW. It feels like a really good relationship that's going to help elevate, especially with the excursions as well. Like, they're the type of thing as like Umino. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually draws pretty well over in the UK. Like, Umino's over, and he's in that stage where he's testing stuff out. Just like, immediately trying to find his gimmick, which is what the excursion is pretty much all about. If you know about the excursions but you don't really know what happens on them, that's pretty much what happens. Like, sometimes you get switchbladed, like, or you get rainmakered. Like, you come back and Gator's got this amazing idea, and then that is what you are when you come back. But other times you find yourself abroad, and when you sometimes you become Hiromu Takahashi. Like, him becoming good friends with Dragon Lee was like the best thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah.
Or Naito as well, actually, even though he was pushed to the main event before. Him going his 2 trips to Mexico, I can't remember how many years apart they were, but those 2 trips both times did the world of good for him. Like, he found himself rather than the Gedo master plan, as we'll call it. Shooter Umino, I love that he's jumping right in with the Shooter stuff. Like, immediately tells that when Moxie said that, he was immediately over as Shooter Umino.
Yeah, I mean,
any movie.
Yeah, going back to the Royal Quest show that happened in August, like, he got huge "Let's Go Shooter" chants during his match on that show. So I mean, the UK fans, they've totally embraced that. A lot of UK fans and US fans are watching the G1 due to Jon Moxley being in there, and everybody loved the relationship between Moxley and Umino. So Moxley crowning him as Shooter got him over right there, and pretty much everywhere he goes. Outside of Japan, he's getting these huge "Let's Go Shooter" chants.
Same with Roppongi 3K as well, because did they go? They went to. I can't remember if they were part of when they still had a good relationship with Noah. Oh, I can't remember when that was, but they were definitely in Japan.
I know Roppongi 3K. They did some stuff in CMLL, and they also had some time in Ring of Honor. The Tempura Boys. I don't remember if they did anything with Noah or not.
I don't know if I'm getting confused, but yes, they were, because they still had a relationship, and I can't remember what happened in that relationship. For some reason, my brain was like, they might have, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, they were my young lions. Those two, Jay White and Finlay, they were my young lions. Juice joined a little bit afterwards, so I'm not sure if he counts. I knew him before.
Yeah, Juice is an interesting situation. He came out of the FCW/NXT Performance Center, obviously a already trained wrestler and had plenty of experience. And when he went over to the dojo, he wanted to be treated like a young lion. He wanted to pretty much start from scratch. But Gato saw him as the star that he is and the great wrestler that he is, and kind of elevated him to a level above the young lions.
Yeah, it's like he was there with them, but he was kind of like when Bad Luck Fale was a young lion, and he stood out a little bit. As in, Bad Luck Fale was more because he's Bad Luck Fale, he stood out. But with Juice, he didn't do the traditional thing of like shaving your head right down and then slowly finding your image kind of thing that they normally do.
Yeah, and he wanted to shave his head, but Gato was like, no, you need to keep your hair, like wear whatever gear you want. You don't have to wear it all black. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different of a. Yeah, I wouldn't really consider Juice as like a young lion.
Yeah, as in he potato in it, but he wasn't like a clean slate kind of bold creator wrestler, which is essentially what they become when they do the full young lion experience. It's like, no, you don't have any hair, you don't have any. Oh, I was gonna say eyebrows, but that's too far. The greater Molesters don't even have eyebrows. That meant everything's gone. But yeah, it's awesome seeing them rise up like that. Even Yoshitatsu, even he got me a pop when I saw bold Yoshitatsu kicking off a show as a young lion. Like, even that, like, oh, he's got promise, that one. And then you see what he actually became. But yeah, but yes, I don't know why I've gone on. We're talking about Shooter, that was why. Yeah. So yes, we could keep Shooter. He's one of those guys where he's very with the whole. I loved his image from like day one. And in terms of excursion, I'm like, oh, this might be. The excursions aren't normally like super short, but it wouldn't surprise me if he gets like a Jay White kind of thing where it's really not that long, purely because he's seemingly got stuff down like so quickly, which is kind of mental for an excursion, or like at this point to already have such an awesome image. Because obviously it's more than just the image, but to have that down so quickly, kind of like mind-boggling to me, having seen how long it takes others. Or someone like Jay White, who he didn't have his image until he got back to New Japan. He was just doing good wrestles.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'd like to keep him for as long as possible, please. But I know that's not realistic. I'm being selfish. And he might do good business for the UK scene, which is what I was trying to get to. But one of those other guys who has been quite prevalent on the UK scene is El Phantasmo, with his very strong Bullet Club influence. Interested to see that not in a leader. I think that's the first time we've seen somebody like El Phantasmo have certain Bullet Club traits, but he's not the leader. He's just a super charismatic dickhead. So
I love El Phantasmo. I think the guy's great, and I think he's been a great addition to New Japan and Bullet Club. I get some serious Prince Devitt vibes from him. Like you mentioned, he's very charismatic. He's very athletic. He can do a lot of great things in there, and he's just great at being that dickhead douchebag that you just want to hate. He does all the cheap heat, the back rakes, the low blows, the pulling of the tights, and you know the guy's a great wrestler. So it's so frustrating when you see him, having to cheat to win, but it's all to generate heat and to get fans to boo him, and it helps get sympathy on the baby faces that he's going against.
And yes, the word dickhead is on that list of words which push you down on the YouTube algorithm. But so is the word YouTube. So
really?
I don't know. Yeah, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody made a massive list of all of the words which were found to push down. And it some of the there are states on there for some reason. Just individual states are on the list, which is really weird.
That's really weird.
To anyone listening, I highly recommend searching out that list, because some of the words and phrases on there are like, why is that on there? Obviously something happened and he got added. But even YouTube is on the list of words you can't say on YouTube. Which, if you're playing the algorithm, don't say these thousands and thousands of words. So if you're not a robot, there's no way you can keep up with that.
That's right.
So I've decided that I could say poop or whatever. Turn off the PG.
But yeah, back to Phantasmo. Yeah, he had a great match here with Sho. They told a great story. Sho kind of coming in with the back injury from the Super Junior Tag League, and he pinned Phantasmo during that tour to kind of earn this title match. And they told that whole story of him having to come back from the back injury and struggling to do all of his power moves, and Phantasmo, trying to have to out-wrestle Phantasmo's cheating and its athleticism. So I thought these guys had great chemistry. This was the match of the show for me. Overall, I thought it was a really, really great match.
I love the multiple attempts for Sho to try and hit the shock arrow, and just the way they kind of built the second half of the match on that, of Sho getting closer and closer every single time, but just couldn't do it, and then he finally does, and then of course Bullet Club things. So it's that one edge that Phantasmo always has. It came up again against a Will Ospreay as well, where that's the one thing that he always has, is at some point the Bullet Club's going to come out. And I love that idea of he at least tries to win without them first, and when stuff goes bad, that's when they come out. It just makes him feel like a more legit champion, especially when he's coming to this match as champion. It makes him feel more legit, like he's trying without them. He's not useless or anything. Like, that's an issue I have with WWE, where quite often their champions feel underwhelming. Like, they don't feel like champions, as in somebody to actually fear when he goes inside the ring. This is the kind of booking like that. Yes, he's a heel, but others won't come out until he's actually in trouble. They don't come out like immediately and destroy somebody. Plus, it makes Show look amazing as well, because he comes so close to defeating the champion, and it took the other guy coming out to finally swing the odds.
Right, that plants that doubt there. Like, if that ref bump didn't happen, Show could have won that match, and so that leaves the door open for a rematch down the line with these two.
And we got that amazing shot. I think that was this match where I can't remember which young lion it was. I wanted to say Alex Coughlin, but it's one of them carrying the referee out, and he's just like holding his head like tucked up like a little child.
I'm pretty sure it was Coughlin.
He's got the big boy arms, like big and strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, Show again, even in defeat here, he is a future star. He's just got it written all over him. I personally love his video game music, or like the kind of pixely thing. It's one of those that I get in my head for like the entirety of his match, just because it fits him really. It's weird. It's one of those that when I was trying to imagine what theme would I give him that isn't the Roppongi theme, and it's like no, like I would never have predicted this, but it works really, really well. And the kind of there's a lot of like electricity types of names in his move set as well, with the shock arrow, and there must be another one.
There's I think the power breaker is his power bomb to the double knees.
That's the bugger. I stopped myself from saying bastard, but avoid destroy the algorithm. But yeah, the Show again looked amazing, and he's done that like every time I've seen him in this kind of setting. It's like after the Best of the Super Juniors, it's kind of like, oh, it's a bit sad that I get to see. I love Roppongi 3K, but in Best of Super Juniors, they really showed me like how these guys are like future stars, like they're that promising. And Show showed it here once again that he really is extreme. At least as the faces of the junior division, Show is too much of a big boy to probably stay there. He's got a lot. He's the one where he screams like he's got the most potential. And this showed it for me.
Yeah, I definitely think that their Show is going to be a future ace of the junior division. You know, you saw him in the Best of Super Junior run, and even in this match here, like he has the crowd's always invested in his matches. He has great facial reactions, great selling, great fire. He has all the makings of a top star, and I think, you know, down the line, he is going to be the guy that kind of carries that junior division on his back.
Oh, 100%. He's got that it factor. And from the moment his music hits and he comes out, he is extreme. He can't help but get behind him as well, which is like really, really useful for somebody where you're looking for that guy, that somebody like that thing Kushida had. Like, he had that element where the crowd, aside from the Osaka type crowds, like definitely would boo him because boo you, Ace. No, you're clean babyface. I'm never booing you. Except for the crowds like that, like he would get them all over, even if they were a bit quiet to start with. Kushida just had that something. Show he's exactly like he's got that quality that Kushida had, where he can just immediately click with the crowd and get them invested into the match, and shooting like mad for him by the end of it. That's for me, easily like at least a future champion, if not face the division, if not more than that.
Yeah, and the crowd here, the San Jose crowd was great, and they got really into this match, and they were kind of, living and dying with every near fall, and they really wanted Show to win. They popped huge for Phantasmo's use of previous Bullet Club leaders' moves. He hit the Styles Clash, he had a V trigger, and attempted a One Wing Angel. But yeah, the crowd just really loved this, and it was a great title match and a great way to highlight Show, highlight Phantasmo, and also build to their Wrestle Kingdom match as Phantasmo and Ishimori are going to be defending against Roppongi 3K on January 4th.
Ah, yes, they are, aren't they? Yes, I completely forgot about that. I don't know why, for some reason, the undercard's just completely slipping my brain. I'm not that ready. I am, I don't know what, if anybody else does this, but when I'm getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom, I don't like to just, dip my toe in to Japan and just watch Wrestle Kingdom and out I am. I'll watch the New Year's Dash as well, maybe, and out I am. That's not quite how I like to kind of get immersed in Japan for that short amount of time. Like, I'll play a Japanese video game, and by that I mean it's got to also be spoken in Japanese. I'm going to be hearing it. I don't just want to be playing a Japanese game, but I'll also listen to Japanese music as well, or watch a show or something. I want to get properly immersed in Japan when I'm getting into Wrestle Kingdom. Last year that led me into not even wanting to turn that off and just going into the Tanahashi. So I was like Japan 24/7 for 2 weeks. So that was, so I do like to do that. And I'm already in that mode where I'm listening to Japanese music. I'm like, Man on a Mission. Man with a Mission. Why have I forgotten their name? Jesus Christ. This is videotape. I'm going to Google it because it's videotape. Man with a Mission. Jesus, they did the G1 song last year. It's like, constantly on a loop at the moment. And I had to pull myself away to actually watch Monday Night Raw. It's like, can't just sit listening to music rather than watch wrestling. Yeah, so I'm at that point, but I'm still not glued in enough to be definitely following everything. I'm getting ready for Wrestle Kingdom. That's my method to my weird madness. Don't just watch the show. I get properly into Japan for a short amount of time. But which is, I don't know why I use that as my kind of talking point to go into the US Heavyweight Championship match, the one match which I didn't need a Japanese introduction. But Lance Archer, who has been absolutely killing it since the splitting away from Davey Boy, facing David Finlay. And this was one where the way it started, I was kind of fearing that David Finlay wouldn't get much in there, maybe have a little fight back, but you're ultimately like, Lance Archer's definitely winning. They did actually twist that. They did a pretty good job. Because I did have that fear, but that fear was very quickly washed away when David Finlay's comeback just had something more to it, and Lance Archer kind of kept chopping him down, then he kept coming back up, which I really, really like that, because for the first half of this match I was kind of worried, and it did go 13 minutes, so obviously if it stayed at that same pace, obviously it's I like Lance Archer, but I feel like this could have been establishing David Finlay. Nope, by the end of it, the crowd were properly cheering David Finlay as he and Juice walked away. Did an amazing job. That second half where David Finlay did come back, really, really enjoyed it. This is the best I feel like I've seen David Finlay. He's finally finding his character, and this kind of level is perfect for him right now. I don't know how high he could go, but the fact he's definitely got his character, and as we were talking about earlier, establishing he and Juice for Finn Juice and making them actual contenders for the tag titles. I feel like this could be the year where, Juice has probably already done it, but Finlay properly finds himself, and this first match is a first example. It really, really worked. I was a massive fan of this match, even though it was nothing incredible. For some reason, I was a massive fan of it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty good match and a good kind of title defense for Lance Archer. David Finlay, he's come back from injury in great shape. The guy is shredded, and like you mentioned, he's kind of found himself and really gotten into the character. I'm kind of an old school mentality when it comes to when guys come back from injuries or you're debuting a new character. I feel like they should kind of go on a win streak, and you kind of push them and kind of get them over before you give them their first loss. And this was Finlay's first big match back from the shoulder injury, and he ends up taking a loss here. And he did have his moments where he shined, but ultimately I felt like this match was more about establishing Archer as a dominant champion, and he took most of this match, and he looked great, had some great spots. He did his heroic walk spot into the moonsault, hit that cannonball off the apron, he powerbombed Finlay and the Young Lions. So Archer looked really good in this match also. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I think Finlay and Juice, they're going to be the team to win the World Tag League this year. And so I think I would have liked to have seen Finlay get some a little bit more momentum going into the tournament this weekend.
It starts this week. Oh, Jesus Christ. So much wrestling.
The first World Tag League show will be on Saturday.
I get up at 8 a.m. to write my column and watch SmackDown. One of us has got a better deal there. But yeah, I like Finjuice. I think there's a reason we brought them up without much like need to. We're talking about it before it was like properly like them on the card. But yeah, they're sticking out as, especially in a tag team that's pretty barren, especially like long term. They stick out as a potential team to kind of take over that Evil and Sanada hole, which surely they're going to be moving past very soon, and they'll be leaving that kind of babyface, like brothers essentially kind of hole there. And Finjuice for me could very easily fill it. They're really popular with the Japanese crowds as well, so especially Juice. Juice is over with, especially the women with Juice, as Young Boy likes to elaborate, nice and PG wise, nice. But I can easily see that. Next up, as we approach the starting of the third hour, we told you, is Naito and Shingo, aka the big, like two of the big. At this point, these two got the biggest pops of the night, and then of course the main event just blew everything out of the water for like everybody. But this was establishing Naito as a credible threat to Jay White more than anything, especially with him beating Chase Owens as well. They were able to fight through the Bullet Club nonsense, again, which is showing Naito's kind of growth as we were talking about with his character arc earlier. Also, Shingo's a badass, that got across, like, he just, in his entrance that comes across. But he's kind of nailing it home. Is Shingo teaming with Bushi at Wrestle Kingdom?
No, so Shingo is in the World Tag League. He's teaming with Terrible from CMLL.
Yes.
Who's a member of the original Los Ingobernables.
Because there was a joke that Terrible looked like when Shingo started out wrestling, and he was in the 2000s. And this is what he looked like to begin with. And those evolved.
Bushi's kind of left out of the cold, it looks like, because he's not, he missed Junior Tag League because Shingo moved up to heavyweight, and Hiromu wasn't coming back until the very end. And so Hiromu has his big match, and so there's not quite much for Bushi to do right now. I mean, potentially maybe they could end up doing a never 6-man match, maybe. I don't know what. Yeah, or maybe he's going to end up in a battle royal or something.
Well, I guess because they like to do, like, when it's the leaders facing each other, they kind of do the lowers facing each other as well. So the Bullet Club, do they still have the trios?
No, so actually the Never 6-Man champs are the team of Makabe, Toriyano, and Taguchi.
Oh, really? What happens when I tune out for a little bit? When I come back, it's like, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, the Never 6-Man belts, they're like the lowest belt on the totem pole. They don't get a lot of emphasis. They don't have many title defenses, and usually when they do get defended, there's always a title change. But that team of Makabe, Yano, and Taguchi, they've held it majority of this year and have had a few defenses. I'm wondering what's going to end up with those. Maybe they end up defending at the Dome on one of these nights.
Yeah, I was thinking it's not out of the question for NJPW to do, like with Naito versus White, where it could be Bullet Club versus LIJ, like a Never 6-Man, just for like the rest of them to kind of do something. Like, that wouldn't feel like super out of the question. But plus, it could also do that because there's 2 nights to fill as well. So any could maybe have one thing leading to the other, and they do something there. I don't know. Other than that, I don't know how Bushi's getting on the card unless it's the Battle Royal, which is a fun thing. I enjoy the Battle Royal. Wait, did they? I don't know if I'm having a brain fart. Did they do the Battle Royal last year?
No, there was last year was the first year in a while they didn't have the rainbow. Yeah, they did that never 6-man tag gauntlet.
I remember because I both woke up late and then had issues getting into the stream. So I missed the never 6-man match or matches, whatever. So yeah, I've not gone back and watched it either. So that made for an interesting review. So.
You didn't miss much.
I mean, that's why the Royal works so well, just because it's just a bit of fun. Like, it's nothing really that crazy. compared to the six-man where it's for a title, and I feel like that is meant to elevate it, but then it's also in that same bracket of you're not meant to really care that much. But this year they got the 2 shows, so that kind of solves that issue. So we get 2 battle royals. Get in. But yeah, I assume that was going to be on the main card now. Now they've got like 16 matches or something to fill. So that's not really that much of an issue. Yeah, they'll find place on the card. What it's going to be, I have no idea. This match here was, again, establishing Tetsuya Naito against Jay White. Like, it wasn't incredible of anything, but everybody got over their characters. Chase Owens, once again, the crown jewel of professional wrestling. He's one of those guys who, even though everyone's now, or most people are now awake to how good Chase Owens actually is, whenever I see him, I'm still like, oh yeah, he is good, isn't he? Because he's, as Jamman put it on one of the post shows of, why is Jamman in the Bullet Club? Oh, sorry, why is Chase Owens in the Bullet Club? Somebody needs to take the pin. And that's pretty much why he's in this match as well. Like,
every group has their designated pin eaters. Unfortunately, right now for Bullet Club, Chase is one of those guys. Yes. But he's so good and he's so crisp in the ring. He's a really solid worker. I mean, this year we did see him kind of get elevation. You know, he had some wins in the New Japan Cup. He had that rivalry with Juice for the U.S. title. And he actually picked up a lot of pinfalls in multi-man tags during the G1 tour. So this has kind of been a better year for Chase, and he signed a new contract this year as well. So I think he's a guy that they do see something in. And down the line, I think he will slowly kind of get elevated as things kind of shift around.
Because he properly stepped up in New Japan Cup, and did he got a US Championship match as well, didn't he?
Right, because I think he eliminated Juice in the first round, which then gave him a title match. I forget which show it's at now, but he got a title match like the next month, I believe.
Oh, because I remember the New Japan Cup predictions, and then after the first round, most people just oh well, that's dead then.
Yeah.
So many curveballs. It's one of those where I remember. I think you did it as well, where it's just putting. Remember, in the New Japan Cup, there will be curveballs. There will be surprise winners. So don't just go with the top guys and everybody go, oh, but the top guys will win the first matches, right? No, that's not what Jeremy said.
Yeah, a lot of times, they do those big upsets during the first round. You know, Naito got knocked out by Ibushi in the first round this year. And a lot of times you'll have stuff where you'll have a Fale knocking out Tanahashi or something like that. You'll have these guys that you don't expect to go forward knock out one of the top guys, or even a guy like Juice who's on top of the mid card. You expect them to move forward, especially if they're a champion, and then next thing you know, they're getting knocked out.
Yeah, so for the New Japan Cup next year, remember the advice that Jeremy's already given you.
And I'm sure we'll do a contest. So, when you fill your brackets out, really think long and hard before you submit them.
Like the G1 Climax, I don't know if it's the same for everyone else, but for me, it's like a full afternoon figuring this out. He's not just a skip down. It's no, I'm going to predict the booking from the end and work myself back.
Right.
To figure this out.
I mean, I think that's the only way to do it. I got the spreadsheet out with all the points, and I'm calculating and adding up and making sure the points all work out right and it all makes sense.
Was it the Keep Your one where you gave you did make a spreadsheet available to everybody to figure it out and it would calculate it for everyone?
Yeah, there was I forget which Reddit user it was, but there was a Reddit user who made a spreadsheet that as you pick guys, it added up the points for you. And so, we had that attached to our contest page to kind of help people out as they're putting it in.
I used that, so whoever made that, thank you. That helped me out so much in doing that. I'm somebody who would have done that myself. Anyway, I'm nerdy enough to do that. So, not my first rodeo, but the fact that Jeremy made that available, I was oh yes, that's amazing. We've again drifted, but Naito versus Chase Owens. That's what led us down this road. Establishing Naito. Therefore, he kind of had to win, but it's not that world where you pin the champions a lot because Jay White's champion for a reason. Therefore, he doesn't get pinned, and Chase Owens is there to eat the pin, and Shingo's there to look like a badass, and he did that really well, as usual. So, well done to him. Then we get to our main event, the atmosphere in the room like immediately shifted. Like the first hit of the first person's music, which was like it's kind of weird to see. Like it hit me with Naito, but because this is the first time they've ran San Jose, you could see with the crowd that some of them were popping like crazy and were absolutely just adoring what's happening just by somebody walking out. Like a woman in the crowd cried when Naito came out. It's just like the emotion, just the fact that of that. Because I keep forgetting because we've been going to the US for so long, that there are so many states where they never thought they'd ever get to see these people perform live, and the fact that they are, where as soon as they come out, you can see that realization hit them. It's like, oh my god, I'm watching this. Like the atmosphere for Tanahashi versus Okada, just that reminder that the American audience never thought they'd see this sort of thing right in front of them. Like Jeremy was there live to kind of feel that reaction. Like you could sense it back home. Like you wouldn't have known that it wasn't 20,000 people in that stadium. They were so loud. Same here as well. When Ospreay and Okada came out, Jesus Christ, they went absolutely mental. Especially for Okada, it was treated like a god. not to make him seem like the biggest deal in the world or anything, but yeah, it was like he was a god, and he got an absolutely incredible reaction.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the whole like allure of New Japan, of America, and doing shows in America. You have these diehard New Japan fans that, they never thought they would get a chance to see a New Japan, like an actual New Japan show. So, they get to live out that dream and see these guys they never thought they would see. And like you mentioned, yeah, all these guys got huge reactions here. I mean, Okada's a megastar, just a once in a lifetime talent, and getting to see him live is just incredible. And you have four incredible workers here with Ospreay, Okada, Amazing Red, and Kota Ibushi. And this was a great way to close off the show. I mean, the match kicked off with Ospreay and Red in there. Like this, the first 60 seconds, they did this awesome sequence of kip-ups and flips and Hurricane Rana attempts, and really just grabbing the crowd and the crowd losing their mind. And then there's a ton of great back and forth between all four guys.
Yeah, it was a bit of because when Will Ospreay got that injury, obviously just like, no, him who's just come back, we finally get to see it, and now Will Ospreay's injured, but he seemed to shake it off relatively well. As far as I know, he was back on it for LA. So, yeah, but calm down, everybody. He's fine. He's all right. He's not worried. But yeah, Amazing Red his story's kind of incredible. Where he had pretty much retired, and now here he is main eventing in New Japan with Okada. Like one of my favourite bits of the match was just when Amazing Red was up against the corner and Okada was just pointing between them, going TNA, TNA, and the crowd gave him nothing. So that was hilarious. Just like the crowd's like, yeah, like, we know each other from TNA. He's like, TNA sucks.
yeah. Okada had his run in TNA, and Amazing Red was during that time. And yeah, Amazing Red was definitely one of my favorite X Division guys in TNA, and I've always been a fan of him. And he's never been pushed in a major way in a national platform. And like you mentioned, like he's actually retired like a couple times now, and keeps kind of getting dragged out of retirement. And he retired in April. He was supposed to be on some shows during Mania weekend, but ended up pulling out and retiring because of some of the neck issues he was having. And now, Ospreay made the big push to get him out of retirement for the big match at the Super J Cup in the opening round. And now he's becoming a regular for these New Japan of America shows.
And it's one of those stories where, like, he may not have realised the amount of respect he has, and that he has actually left a mark on the industry. Will Ospreay is one of those people that he influenced. So, and Ospreay's been very open about that. So it's kind of it's a nice realisation moment for Amazing Red. Is like, no, you did have a massive effect on this industry, and this kind of run is kind of like the current generation in a way saying thank you. Like, again, it says something when it's the people pulling him back, not him deciding, oh, actually, I don't want to retire. It's like, no, he gets getting pulled back in because people have too much respect for him. They want to. In a way, it did feel like Will Ospreay saying thank you back in the Super J Cup, and
yeah,
he
definitely
could be one of those guys they include in the US shows as well, because the fans love him. They respect him just as much as like we're seeing with the wrestlers as well.
Yeah, so far it looks like the plan going forward. I think he's going to be one of these guys that they reach out to. Him and like TJP, I think are guys we're going to be featured often on New Japan of America shows. And he's a great name. Fans love him. He has excellent matches. He's definitely somebody they can rely on for these shows going forward.
Yeah, and Kota Ibushi as well. He was there doing his taunts with Okada. I feel like Okada was the bigger dick. Oh no, we've raised that one. He was the bigger dick head. That's what I was trying to say. Most antagonistic.
Yeah, Okada.
Yeah, that's like a triple entendre there by accident.
Yeah, a lot of times Okada, especially when he's going against a guy like Ibushi, will go into almost like a kind of heel role. This kind of will get very arrogant. And it kind of helps build sympathy for the guy he's going against. And so, obviously, going into January 4th, Kota Ibushi is going to be... I mean, obviously, they're essentially both faces, but in this match with Ibushi, I think Ibushi is more loved than Okada, and people kind of want to see him get the big move since he finally signed a contract. And so, I think people are kind of in Ibushi's corner here, and so Okada is kind of playing up to that and being that kind of arrogant, almost a little bit heelish. We kind of saw that during the Kenny feud as well.
Like for me, the best aces can do that. Like even Kushida did that. For me, like the best example is Hiroshi Tanahashi. His match against Goto 2007. If you want to see a fantastic example of Tanahashi healing it up, like go watch that match. It is amazing. But yeah, they have that ability to like read the room and totally heal it up and have kind of nothing holding them back. Like for me, that's how I would have liked to have seen John Cena sometimes. Like instead of going aren't I controversial? That's why you're booing me. Instead of actually, like I feel like in his later years when he was doing like the US title run stuff, he went into it a lot better. It's just that kind of the reading the room of the crowd and going full heel essentially with no kind of holds back. Tanahashi was amazing at it. Okada's again amazing at it. I swear I've seen Ospreay do it as well. Like he can just go full dickhead mode. And it's just for a night, and it's great to see. He's still the same guy. Obviously, he'll come out the next night, and he'll be like the beloved babyface. And with Okada here, he got an amazing reaction when he came out. Although he realised that he's going to be the champion here. He's going to have the gusto, and he's going to be the person taunting Ibushi, trying to get that out. And right, that's a great kind of trait of a ace champion to be able to do that.
Right, and by the end of the show, Ospreay and Okada won this match, and Okada did the closing promo. By the closing promo, the fans were back cheering him, and he had the crowd in the palm of his hands.
Especially with how the match went as well, with Will Ospreay kind of being written out, and it turned into Okada fighting two people. It switched. Yeah, it was obviously wasn't a planned switch in terms of like Okada was being a dick, and then suddenly the odds were against him, and he shows this champion's worth. Yeah, and in the end, Ospreay coming back did even the field, but Okada was by himself for quite a long time, and he held his own, and he fought against the odds, which is what a champion should be able to do. And obviously, Amazing Red was ultimately there to take the pin. It's one of those where obviously it felt like Ospreay's not losing, Okada's not losing, and Ibushi's not losing. We all know why Amazing Red's there. The poor lad. Like, one of these is not like the other. Like, immediately stuck out. But again, it's the passing of the torch, of the TNA torch, from Amazing Red to Okada. They finally got to do it. And yeah, I'd love to see more of Amazing Red. I'm assuming that's kind of why he's been brought back as well, because they made such an impression on both the fans and New Japan themselves. And it did a really, really good job of, as we're saying with Okada being a dickhead, it did a really good job of building to Okada and Ibushi at Wrestle Kingdom. Just that tension is building, it is there. Which, if you looked at past builds to Wrestle Kingdom, the best ones for me build that tension like really well, which is kind of my slight issue with Omega Tanahashi. On paper, I liked the idea they had for that build, but it didn't really, like when I'm watching the New Japan shows, I didn't really feel that build of tension and anticipation on the shows themselves. This is how I like to see it done, essentially. They're interacting and they're kind of building via the techniques like what we said earlier, where it's in that ring and it's the kind of facial expressions, the way they react to each other. Maybe they'll say a throwaway comment in a press conference type of thing afterwards. This is the perfect example of that happening, and I just prefer it like a million times more. I'm not saying Tanahashi vs Omega was bad, because that's not. I don't really think it was bad. I still enjoyed it, but I much prefer this. And this is going to get me excited.
Yeah, I think with Omega and Tanahashi, I think a lot of their build was through press conferences and interviews and social media. They didn't have as many interactions as like Okada and Ibushi are having right now. And I love the Omega Tanahashi, the feud and the rivalry, but I understand what you're saying. Where like it's great to see these guys interacting and the facial expressions and that tension kind of being built up in all these multi-man matches. And I'm sure we're going to see more of that on the Road to Tokyo Dome tours in December.
Yes, it's kind of it's just one thing. One massive praise I'll have is we may have not got Tanahashi and Omega interacting all the time, but then we got the amazing Okada and Tanahashi, that dream team coming together. So it's kind of like, oh, which one do I prefer? Would I prefer for Omega and Tanahashi to build like this, or I get Tanahashi Okada and that amazing run in December? So, I like that run so much. That run in December was fantastic. So. Yes, I had my gripes, but there was major positives. So I can't really complain too much. We'll say that actually. Like, they've got a hell of a December to follow from last year's December. Like, because normally I tune out, but there's a lot happening, which was like kind of awesome. It even got to the point where I remember hitting you up, just like, has anything massive happened? I think you were like, yes. Here's what everything. And we're just like, oh crap, oh bloody hell, it's Christmas, there's so much happening, and now I've got to watch New Japan as well. Luckily, WWE were, I think, at the time at their first of 20 resets, so I was able to step away. Yeah, but yes, that brings us to the end of the show. We finally finished the showdown. Okada ended with a really, really good ramping up promo to end the show. Also, really great to see. Obviously, it's a New Japan show, so that level of respect was automatically there anyway. But somebody speaking in foreign and the crowd cheer. My God, how nice that is! Just that I'm just so used to in wrestling because WWE have been able to dictate what storytelling is in wrestling and what wrestling is. For whenever somebody speaks in foreign, WWE have dictated that equals boo that person. So it's so refreshing to see a show like this where Okada speaks in English, but then switches to Japanese at the end, and the crowd still cheer at every break. It's like, oh, that was great to see. A nice little note.
Essentially, they were like, "Yeah, what he said."
It's like, well, I said I was listening to Japanese music. So when you get a song stuck in your head, but you don't speak Japanese, so you don't really know the words. So just like, yeah, I know this bit, but I can whistle it, I guess. So I don't know what he's saying. So yeah, I'm in their boat at the moment. It's like, yeah, it sounded. He had a cadence of a good sentence. So I'll cheer it. But that just brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for Jeremy for now. This has been we've reached like 5.5 hours of you talking New Japan this week. So well done.
I wouldn't want it any other way.
So Jeremy, do you want to plug all of your stuff?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy L. Donovan. As you guys heard, I also co-host Keeping It Strong Style, which is at KI Strong Style on Twitter. We have new shows every Tuesday on the Social Suplex Podcast Network, which I'm kind of the head honcho of that also. So you can follow us at Social Suplex.
And you can follow me at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. Oh, that hurt my throat at 2:30. And you can read my columns on lordsofpain.net. I'm currently doing a weekly column called Imp's Wrestling Adventure, where I'll talk about Raw, NXT, AEW, and SmackDown in one 4,000 word column. So it's like Jeremy's Week, but in text form. It's just like thousands of words. So that's going up every single Saturday, so you want to check that out as well. Normally I also do a plug for Tito's column, which comes out on the same day as well. So if you want a more timely column, as if he's able to keep up with it, it's a massive task. I can't believe I've so far been able to keep up with it myself. You have to watch like 9 hours of wrestling minimum every week. It's crazy. Oh, no
Wow.
wonder people start to get to fatigue. That's just the television. Never mind pay-per-views or New Japan or whatever, or your life. The bins still need taking out. You can't just stop and just watch Japanese wrestling all the time. But yeah, so that's what I'm currently doing. Here on Lots of Pain Radio, I'll be back next week. I've currently got no plan at all. I've not booked anyone. I've not thought, this would be a great time to talk about that. So we'll see where the wind takes me. That's fantastic forward booking. But I'll be back at this time next week here live on YouTube and whatnot, just trying to figure out all this stuff with a million things to do before we go live. But please do check out the other shows here on LOP Radio. Live on Wednesdays, immediately after AEW Dynamite, we have got Dynamite After Dark with Jamman and Jeff. So that's gone up on YouTube earlier today, which is also me. There's a lot of things I do on a Thursday. Friday is Math Plan and Mazza with The Right Side of the Pond. They're currently doing a myth-busting series on the new gen, starting in 95 and working all the way through. So, again, I highly recommend that series. It's very high quality. Saturdays is reserved for our AEW stuff. Our main running show's currently on hiatus, but the AEW Aftershocks obviously take place whenever there's a pay-per-view, which is just, like maybe 4 times a year, if that. Sundays is reserved for WWE Aftershocks for their pay-per-views. Monday night is Kingdom of Honor with Jamman and Jeff talking Ring of Honor, New Japan, MLW, whatever. Tuesdays is a Global Revolution, which is currently on hiatus as well. Wednesdays is Planned Sports Entertainment is Dead, which is a new format where you get a guest on for, and every fortnight the guest swaps, but they'll pick one match and talk about that in detail. Yeah, imagine that, Jeremy, talking about things in detail. That's so alien to us. And I'll be back next Thursday. What day does Keeping It Strong Style release on Social Suplex?
So every Tuesday we release on Social Suplex Podcast Network. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast. Just type in Social Suplex Podcast Network, and then you'll see Keeping It Strong Style on Tuesdays, and we have a bunch of other great shows on the network as well.
And just to say goodbye, you can follow me on Twitter at @TheDamnImplicat. You can follow Jeremy at Jeremy L. Donovan. And with that, I bid you adieu, adios. This has been LOP Radio Live, and it didn't go wrong. Internet high five. It didn't go wrong. Oh, thank God for that. Yes, with that, I bid you adieu, adios. If I can... Clever me, just to say goodbye. I put Jeremy's face on top of the end stream button, so it wasn't there. I'm like, where is it? I found it, guys. I'm computer illiterate. Anyway, bid you adieu. Adios.